Chapter 1, I am Nobita Nobi. My head hurts. Suddenly, a flood of memories surged into my mind. I'm Nobita Nobi? That legendary good-for-nothing elementary schooler? Wait, no, that's not quite right. As I sorted through my thoughts, I realized, yes, I am Nobita Nobi, but this isn't some typical reincarnation story where I took over his body. I seem to have crossed over while still in the womb, only just now have my memories awakened. No wonder Nobita was such a mess growing up, so that explains it. But now, Nobita is me, and I am Nobita. We're one and the same from now on. His miserable life is over. I slowly looked around the room. A light blue desk faced the window, though it had barely any books on it. Most of the books and items on the left shelf were manga and toys, as expected of Nobita Nobi. Looking back down, I noticed I was lying in bed. My head and legs were wrapped in bandages. Then, like a flood, a terrifying memory hit me. That day, it was sunny and beautiful. My parents and I were out for a stroll when, out of nowhere, a car came speeding straight at us. No warning, no sign of stopping. What happened next was tragically predictable. Nobita's father, Nobisuke, was hit and died on the spot. In that moment, it was like time froze. I don't know how, but I managed to react in time and shoved my mother out of the way. Unfortunately, I still got hit. Luckily, maybe because of that shove, the car only clipped my leg, and I was sent flying. My head smashed into the pavement, a rock splitting open my scalp, blood blurring my vision. All I could see was red, and hear shouting, bystanders calling for help, someone dialing emergency services. Pain shot through my entire body, especially my right leg. It felt broken. The world spun, and just before losing consciousness, I heard my mother, Tamako, crying back to the present. Man, what a brutal start. Crossed into a new world but lived like an idiot for years because I hadn't awakened my memories, and just as I finally do, boom, my dad dies. As if that weren't enough, I end up all battered and broken. But whatever, at least I'm alive. It's a new beginning, time to enjoy life. Wait a second, I've transmigrated, right? So where's my cheat system? Skill points menu. Wise old grandpa Bob. Actually, let's not go there. Nothing? Seriously? No response at all? Damn it, am I not the main character? But hold on. I'm in the Doraemon world. Who needs cheats when you've got the blue cat himself? Thinking that, maybe this isn't such a bad start after all. Ouch. I accidentally moved and pain shot through my body, making me cry out involuntarily. From outside the room came a rush of footsteps. The door swung open and a soft, intoxicating fragrance filled the air. A voluptuous woman in a tight pink top that strained against her curves and round glasses burst in, her ample breasts bouncing hypnotically as she moved. She threw her arms around me tightly, pressing her soft, warm body flush against mine. No, Nobita, you're finally awake. Thank goodness, I was so worried, she breathed, her hot breath tickling my ear. Your father is gone, you're all I have left now. What would I have done if I lost you too? I couldn't even respond. My face was smothered in her enormous, pillowy breasts, and I was struggling to breathe. The softness enveloped me, and I felt a stirring in my lower regions. Mom, too tight. Tamako quickly let go, flustered. Then, just as she did, another figure barged into the room, a blue creature that launched itself at me and hugged me tight. Nobita. You're okay? I was so worried. Doraemon. Hey, let go. I can't breathe. And stop wiping your snot on me. Doraemon. Chapter 2, The Harem Plan. Doraemon quickly let go of me and panicked. Nobita. Are you okay? Doraemon blubbered, nose running and tears flowing. I'm fine. Looking at how worked up Doraemon was, I swallowed the words I was about to say. Doraemon, you're always so reckless. That was my mom, Tamako Nobi, scolding him from the side. Hee. Sorry, Nobita, it's all my fault. I'm just glad you're okay. Doraemon scratched his round little hands and gave a sheepish smile while they talked. I took a moment to look over at my mom. Everyone knows her, Tamako Nobi, my mother. Today, she was wearing her big dark sunglasses, a pink round neck top, and a beige pencil skirt, classic housewife attire in Japan. But despite the conservative clothes, it was hard not to notice how curvy she was after that soft experience earlier. Seeing her now made me realize she really had been hiding quite the figure under there. You'd never know unless you'd felt it. Her skin was surprisingly pale. Maybe being a full-time housewife had kept her protected from the sun even though she'd had a kid. Her body was still in amazing shape, not a hint of sagging. Long, slender legs, too. Maybe she kept herself fit at home regularly. She came over and looked me over again, making sure I was okay. Once she was satisfied, she exhaled gently and gave me a warm smile. What would you like to eat? Mommy will make you something. Anything's fine, just the usual stuff, I replied. All right, I'll make your favorites, she said kindly, and remember to take care of your body. Rest well. She stood up slowly and turned to Doraemon. I won't bother you while you rest, Doraemon. Come with me, don't disturb Nobita anymore, and help me buy groceries while we're out. As she said that, she grabbed Doraemon by the scruff and headed out, softly closing the door behind her. I could still hear Doraemon's voice fading in the hallway. I wasn't disturbing him. I just wanted to cheer him up so he could recover faster. And then, silence. Coming to this world again isn't so bad, honestly. A caring mom. Doraemon by my side now. I need to think, what should I do with this second chance? I can't waste it. That thought got interrupted by a sudden image in my head. My mom's body again. The softness I felt earlier, it flashed through my mind like a highlight reel. Should I go full stallion type protagonist? You know, build a massive harem? I mean, what else is reincarnation for if not getting what you couldn't have before? Money, power, women to rule the world by day, and fall asleep in a beauty's lap by night. That's the real dream, right? Desiring it isn't shameful as long as I know what I want and stay in control. Why not indulge a little? He, I couldn't help but smirk a little. There were so many beauties in the Doraemon world. Shizuka, of course, then Lilulu, Tsubasa Ito, Sumire Hoshino, that red shoes girl, Non-chan. And a whole lot more just waiting for me. I was single my whole past life. No way I'm living that same pathetic life again. I'm going to overcompensate for every lonely day. Man, this must be the bottled up frustration of 30 years of being single. If I could trade my old roommate's singlehood for a life filled with love and affection, so be it. Lost in thought, time slipped by before I knew it. It was mealtime. My mom helped me down the stairs carefully. Why not have Doraemon help me instead? Come on, between a beautiful woman and your bro, who would you choose? All the way down, I got to experience her amazing body up close again. The gentle scent of her perfume, the way her arm pressed around me, so warm and soft. Dinner was full of warm and caring conversation, but honestly, the best part was when she helped me back upstairs. That soft feeling pressed up against me with every step, her curves impossible to ignore. Not bad at all. Chapter 3, The Future Diary. After a night's rest, I felt much better. My body didn't hurt as much anymore. I could even stand up on my own now. Now that I'm feeling better, it's time to think about what comes next. First of all, without a system or cheat code, the only thing I can rely on is Doraemon's gadgets. But based on my past experience watching the Doraemon anime, there's this one strange rule he always follows: punishing the bad and helping the good. Basically, you can't use the gadgets for anything evil or selfish. That's just how things work in the show, but I have no idea if the same rule applies here too. If it does, then I can't just use Doraemon's gadgets however I want. Damn it, it's like finally getting a cheat code, but then getting banned before I can even use it. So frustrating. Wait a second, wasn't there a special episode where Doraemon had a gadget that lets you schedule your future? As long as you write it down, it becomes reality? Maybe that gadget could bypass the whole no bad stuff rule, or at least walk a fine line around it. With that thought in mind, I slowly moved toward the closet where Doraemon sleeps. I slid open the door. Sure enough, he was still inside, sleeping with a goofy grin, even smacking his lips, probably dreaming about dorayaki or something. Doraemon, I called out as I gently slapped his chubby face. Wake up, Doraemon. Nobita? You're up already? That's early. Doraemon rubbed his eyes and looked at me, still half asleep. But it's not that early, it's already 7. Then I suddenly remembered normally I don't get up until 8, so yeah, I was up early for once. Hey! Doraemon lit up. You're walking already? Looks like you've recovered really well. Come on, let me check you over just to be safe. He reached out to examine me. Stop it, Doraemon. I'm fine, I said, pushing him away. Anyway, Nobita, why'd you get up so early? Something on your mind? He asked curiously. I wanted to borrow one of your gadgets, I said, a little sheepishly. A gadget? Which one? Don't tell me you're planning to mess around again. Doraemon scolded as he reached into his 4D pocket. Hey, it's that diary, the one that lets you write out the future, I said, rubbing my hands together. I'm not going to mess around. I just want to make a solid plan for my future. After everything that's happened lately, I've decided it's time to change. I want to become the kind of great adult you always talked about. I said it as seriously as I could, and to do that, I need to set a goal first, right? So, Doraemon, lend me the future diary, will ya? I grinned. Really? Doraemon squinted at me, clearly suspicious. All right then, I'll let you borrow it. He didn't quite believe me, but still reached into his pocket and pulled it out. The future diary. There was a yellow conical frame in the center, surrounded by red and blue colors. It didn't look like a regular diary at all. It looked more like a magic book. Here you go, Doraemon said, handing it to me. I held it with both hands. This was one of the legendary gadgets from Doraemon's world. In the special episode The Mystery of the Pyramids, The Great Egyptian Adventure, it could even control the weather, influence people's thoughts and actions. Just thinking about it made my heart race and also kind of pissed me off. Damn, my past self really wasted this chance with Doraemon as a cheat tool. Who needs some dumb system? If anyone else had this, they'd have taken off by now. I slowly opened the diary. It was completely blank, probably unused. Nobita, the way you use the future diary is simple. Just write directly in it, Doraemon began explaining. The more detailed your writing, the better. That way, the people and events involved will follow your intentions more closely. If you only write the outcome or final goal, it can still come true, but the process will be left up to your own efforts, and that part becomes unpredictable. So, Nobita, have you decided what to write? He asked seriously. Yeah, I'm just going to write the goal and the result. I'll handle the process myself, I said with resolve. Hey? That doesn't sound like you at all. Didn't you always want results to just fall into your lap? Doraemon asked suspiciously. Wah xxy Nobita, you've grown up. You've finally learned to not rely on me or my gadgets. Doraemon cried, visibly moved. Man, he gets emotional way too easily. Even I felt kind of embarrassed. Come on, hurry up and write. I'll help you plan it out, he said, unusually eager. All right, but Doraemon, could you step outside for a bit? I can't let you see what I'm writing, I said, a little embarrassed. Don't tell me you're gonna write marry Shizuka or surpass Dekisuji. I get it, I totally get it, he said with a mischievous grin as he left and kindly closed the door behind him. What does Doraemon know? Shizuka? I'm not stopping at one tree, I want an entire forest. A wicked grin crept onto my face. With that, I opened the future diary and began to write. Nobita Nobi will fulfill his dreams and have a vast harem. Fate will favor Nobita Nobi, and the path to his goals will be smooth along the way. He will meet many beautiful women and form complex relationships with them. Nobita Nobi will live a happy life. Chapter 4. First time meeting Shizuka. After I finished writing in the future diary, I hid it away. Why didn't I give it back to Doraemon? Well, I straight up asked him to let me keep it. It's not like he's lacking gadgets anyway, and Doraemon's idea of safety is putting it in his 4D pocket, which, by the way, has gone missing more times than I can count. It's less secure than our own house. If we're ever on an adventure and the pocket gets damaged, that'd be game over. So I decided to bury it under the old withered persimmon tree in our yard. In the anime, that tree barely gets any screen time. It's not even as memorable as the 1,000-year-old cedar behind the hill, but that's the point, because no one notices it. No one would think to look there. Besides, considering how much chaos Doraemon and I cause, and that the tree's still standing while parts of the house have collapsed or been dug out, that tree must be something special. Yet, there's no better place, I nodded to myself, satisfied. After that, I spent a few more days at home recovering. During that time, I also took care of things related to Dad. Nobi Mom settled the compensation from Dad's death. We needed that, especially since we just lost the only breadwinner in the house. We had to prepare for the gap that left, and then there was the funeral that's next week. We need time to contact relatives and arrange everything. Thankfully, Mom handled most of it. With help from my uncles, I could focus on resting and getting better. Once I recovered, it was time to go back to school. I'd been unconscious for days, and while Shizuka and the others had visited, I wasn't awake yet. Then once I came to, I was so busy with everything about Dad that I hadn't even seen my friends. Being new to this world, I hadn't even met them face to face yet, so this was kind of our first real meeting. As I walked to school, backpack slung over my shoulder, I suddenly heard a sweet, cheerful voice. "Nobita, you're finally okay." I turned around. There she was, Shizuka. She stood there, smiling brightly, her eyes sparkling with joy. She looked like a little angel wearing a pink round neck tee and a red pleated skirt, her legs long and slim beneath it. Her clear eyes locked onto mine, full of life. Even though she was still young, there was already a graceful charm about her. Her soft, fair skin and rosy cheeks gave her a gentle, almost doll-like beauty. She was going to grow up into a heartbreaker, no doubt about it. "Shizuka, long time no see," I said, smiling back. "Are you sure you're okay? You looked really hurt the other day. If you're still not well, you should have stayed home to rest," she said with a hint of concern in her voice. She stepped forward, as if she wanted to check me with her hands, but then blushed and hesitated, letting her hands drop awkwardly. Her eyes scanned me up and down, "Just to be sure I'm fine, really I've recovered well," I reassured her. "If anything's wrong, you have to tell someone, got it?" she said again, still a little worried. After confirming I was okay, her expression finally relaxed. As we walked together towards school, she started chatting about what had been happening there recently, laughing as she talked, her cheerful voice, that gentle fragrance of milk drifting from her. Everything made my heart feel lighter. The two of us walked side by side, like innocent childhood sweethearts, caught up in easy conversation and the warmth of the morning sun. Maybe this is what it means to grow up together. Maybe that's what it means to be childhood friends. Chapter 5, School Life. I walked into the classroom alongside Shizuka, the two of us chatting and laughing. The classroom looked pretty similar to the ones from my past life. Following Shizuka to my desk, I was surprised to find that we were actually seatmates in the anime. I wasn't always seated next to her. I guess our class rotates seats regularly too. "Hey, Nobita, you actually showed up to school." Just as I set my bag down, two annoying voices rang out, voices that I couldn't help but dislike. Instinctively looking up, I saw a guy with a pointy mouth, kind of like a fox, and another with a slightly darker face, almost gorilla-like. Yep, Sunio Honkawa and Takeshi Gudajian and Sunio in the anime, they're supposedly my close friends, yet at the same time, they've caused me the most grief. On one hand, we're always hanging out, so I guess you could call them my buddies, but on the other hand, they're the ones who bully me the most. Without them, my life would be so much easier. Almost every prank, every bit of bullying, it's always them. Stuff like getting chased by dogs or falling over seems minor compared to the torment they dish out. Honestly, if it weren't for Doraemon, this whole story would just be a depressing documentary on Nobita Nobi's experience with school bullying. But at the same time, somewhere along the way, my kindness seems to be rubbing off on them. They've slowly started to change, and because of that, they never went totally down the wrong path. So yet our relationship is a weird mix of resentment and reluctant friendship. "Jian, Sunio, long time no see," I replied with a smile. "Whoa, you seem different," Jian said, looking surprised. "Not as timid as you used to be yet. You look way better now. Last time we saw you, you were still unconscious in bed," Sunio added, sounding genuinely concerned. "I'm all better now," I told them, still smiling. "Good, don't forget the baseball match in a few days," Jian said as the two of them returned to their seats. Rying. The bell rang, and students began filing into the classroom. I spotted a bunch of familiar faces from the anime. Some I didn't know the names of, others I vaguely remembered, like Yasuo with his signature hat, or Haruo, the chubby kid munching on chips, and of course, there was him, my so-called rival, at least, in my own mind, Hidetoshi Dekisuji. The moment you look at him, you just know he's the top student, but seeing him up close now, he didn't seem as out of this world as the anime made him out to be. Maybe it's because I came from a past life where academic competition was intense, and I'd seen too many geniuses to be surprised anymore. Back then, a true top student wasn't just good at tests, they had emotional intelligence, logical reasoning, communication skills, the full package. If you didn't have all that, you wouldn't survive the brutal exam grind. Those who made it out of that system, They were the real deal, polished, well-spoken, and sharp, so when I looked at Dekisuji, I was kind of underwhelmed. He didn't have that aura of a future academician or anything. Maybe the internet hype around him was a bit much. That said, he did love to read. His desk was stacked with books on astronomy and space and about that rival thing. Turns out Dekisuji wasn't even that interested in Shizuka. He just sat there quietly reading most of the time. Shizuka would occasionally walk over to ask him a question, and once she got her answer, she'd head right back to chat with me. At that point, it all clicked. Shizuka just treated Dekisuji like a living homework help machine. No small talk, no extra attention, just question, answer, done. Classic Shizuka. Finally, there was the teacher, Mr. S, the one with the always short buzz cut in the anime. He's the stern one who never gives up on me. He's always been the strict teacher type, the kind who gets frustrated because he cares. He even does home visits. Which pretty much says it all. Chapter 6, A Study Genius. Me? While observing everything, I'd already learned quite a bit about the characters from the original anime. Once that buzzcut teacher walked into the classroom, class began as expected. Before the lesson even started, he went straight into checking homework. Technically, I could have skipped the assignment since I'd been sick the past few days and wasn't attending class, but last night, I wanted to prove to myself and everyone else that I was serious about changing, so I called the teacher and asked about the homework, then sat down and finished it. Believe it or not, that small act actually brought Mom and Doraemon to tears. They were so touched. They said I'd finally grown up. Even I felt a bit embarrassed when the teacher came around to me. It seemed like he was going to just pass me over. Not surprising, me not doing homework had basically become a routine. Even though I'd called him last night, I doubt he actually believed I'd follow through. Maybe he thought I just wanted an excuse to slack off again. But when I opened my notebook and handed it over for him to check, he looked genuinely surprised. Nobita? You actually did your homework? His voice was so loud that the whole class turned to look. Let's see, he muttered as he flipped through the pages. Wait, finished, and all correct? His tone was a mix of shock and disbelief. The classmates around me started gathering, trying to sneak a look. I could feel my face burning. Then the teacher walked up to the front of the class holding my notebook. Last night's assignment, only Nobita completed it and got everything right, he announced. The classroom buzzed with chatter. Even Dekisuji looked stunned. The homework had been a bit tricky. He himself had gotten one of the final problems wrong. Nobita, come up here and solve the problems. Again on the board, the assignment was just some multiplication, division, and basic fraction, addition and subtraction. Honestly, stuff at the elementary school level. With the education I went through in my previous life, I'd have to be possessed not to know how to do them. I went up, and in just a few steps, redid all the problems from last night. When I stepped down from the platform, the whole class was frozen. Then, slowly, they began to clap. The teacher beamed. Everyone should learn from Nobita. Even while sick, he didn't forget to study and do his homework. This is a huge improvement. Keep it up, everyone. Back at my seat, Shizuka turned to me, smiling sweetly. Nobita, that was amazing. I scratched my head, embarrassed. Nat, I'm still nowhere near your level. Shizuka's always been the kind of person who's genuinely happy about any small progress I make, even more than I am myself. Her cheeks were flushed pink, like little apples. Honestly, I just wanted to take a bite. Humph, don't get cocky, Nobita, it's just one homework, sneered Sunio. Yet, don't act like it's a big deal, added Jian. Of course, only those two would say something like that. It's that weird kind of logic. You don't want your bro to suffer, but you really don't want him driving a luxury car either. A friend's failure is sad, but their success somehow stings more. And suddenly, I felt this wave of nostalgia back in high school and college. I used to mess around like this with my dorm mates all the time. The teasing, the laughter, it was all so familiar. But I can't go back. So, to honor all my single brothers from my past life, I'll carry their legacy into this one and make sure my new life is smooth sailing with a big, glorious harem. Chapter 7, Dad's funeral. Ever since I returned to school after recovering from my illness, everyone started to notice a change in me. I stopped being late. I did all my homework, every single assignment, even in sports. When I played baseball with Sunio and Jian, I rarely made mistakes. I even hit a few home runs in gym class. I finally passed. Shizuka's cheeks would flush with happiness, and she kept praising me, saying how amazing I was. It was honestly a little embarrassing, of course, with me changing. Jian and Sunio weren't so thrilled one day. They picked a fight with me. I wasn't the old Nobita anymore. I fought back. I grabbed their faces and rubbed them hard into the ground, kicked them a few times too. Jian was tough, but after a few beatings, he finally gave in our most recent exams. My scores shot up. I thought about getting a perfect score, but that might be too suspicious. People might think I cheated, so for the first test, I got 80 points, then raised it to 90 in the next one. Just those two scores were enough to make Mom and Doraemon cry tears of joy. Mom cooked a huge feast. Doraemon even took out some gadgets to celebrate. It all seemed a bit too much, honestly, but seeing them happy made me happy too. A week passed like this. Life was good, but then, it was time for Dad's funeral. There were a lot of relatives, but I only recognized a few. My uncle, my mom's brother, the rest were strangers. Shizuka, Sunio, and Jian came too. They offered their condolences, but there wasn't much else they could do. After the ceremony, Mom held Dad's urn. He was already ashes now, and placed it in the family grave. We covered it with earth. That was it. It was over in the end. Only the three of us were left, me, Mom, and Doraemon. I looked at Mom, dressed in her widow's clothes, beautiful even in grief. I turned to Dad's tombstone and spoke, "Dad, rest easy. I'll take care of Mom from now on. You don't have to worry. I won't let her suffer." Doraemon, crying hard, said, "Don't worry, I'll take care of Nobita. And Mom too." Mom wiped her tears, her voice trembling. "Nobita's grown up now, not the mischievous boy he once was. He's changed so much. No more bad habits, he's not late for school, and he does well in class. He even got praised by his teacher this week. If only you could see him now. I'll raise him well, until he can support the Nobi family. If you can hear me, please watch over us and keep Nobita safe." Mom wiped her face, her eyes shining with determination. "All right, let's go home, Nobita. Doraemon will visit Dad again soon." Mom turned and called us to follow her. "At home, don't worry, Mom. I'll support our family from now on." Suddenly, Mom hugged me tightly. She sobbed, "Nobita, from now on it's just us holding up this family." For some reason, her strength from earlier faded away, and she cried in my arms. I could feel her softness as I held her. My face pressed into her. The scent of her, gentle and familiar, filled my nose. I hugged her back and patted her softly on the back, comforting her. "Don't be afraid, Mom, I'm here," I whispered at some point. Her arms around me became my arms around her. Mom buried her face in my chest, and as we spoke softly, I continued to gently stroke her back. Chapter 8. My real awakening. Holding Mom Tamako Nobi in my arms was honestly, I got a little excited, but Mom didn't suspect a thing after she cried it out. She seemed embarrassed and gently pushed herself out of my embrace. "Sorry you had to see me like this, Nobita. I must look awful right now." Her eyes were still red, but honestly, she didn't look ugly at all. If anything, the red cheeks and delicate features, especially in her morning clothes, just made her look even more fragile and beautiful. "And no, Mom, you're still the prettiest woman ever, but please, take care of yourself, okay? Don't make yourself too sad over Dad." I tried to comfort her. She smiled a little and lightly scolded me, "Don't worry about me. I'm the adult in this house. You know, all you need to do is keep studying hard." I wanted to tell her that I was grown up now, that the Nobi family had a man to rely on. I looked her in the eye and said, "I'm here now, Mom. You can count on me." Mom just shook her head, acting all serious. "That's my job as the adult. It's not your turn yet. Just keep focusing on your studies." Then she stood up. "Anyway, it's time to make you dinner," and off she went to the kitchen. After Dad's funeral, life slid back into a kind of normal again. I kept improving at school, and this time, I didn't bother hiding it. On the latest test, I got a perfect score. Even Dekisuji only got 99. The whole class was shocked. I could see it on their faces. No one expected me to change this much, but then again, I guess it made sense. They probably just thought it was because my dad died, and I was working extra hard because of that. The room filled with applause. Mr. S., our teacher, patted me on the shoulder. "You're making great progress, Nobita, but don't keep everything bottled up inside. If you ever need someone to talk to, I'm here. Keep up the hard work, but make sure to look after yourself first." He probably figured my dad's death was the reason I changed so much. I didn't really know how to respond. My feelings were all mixed up. I just nodded and headed back to my seat. Jian and Sunio were looking at me with that same old jealous annoyed face. Shizuka, though, looked worried. "Are you okay, Nobita?" You haven't come over to play in a while. I'd been busy with the funeral and honestly, I was trying to act like some reformed kid. I'd almost forgotten that in the anime, Nobita used to visit Shizuka's house all the time. Maybe my change lately made Shizuka worry. Maybe she thought I was all messed up because of Dad's death. I'm fine, Shizuka. I just wanted to catch up on everything I missed before, so I've been studying hard. See? I'm doing alright. I tried to sound cheerful. She didn't press OK, but if something's bothering you, promise me you'll talk about it. Don't just carry it alone. She hesitated, then asked, Hey, Nobita, do you have time lately? Want to come over and study together? Her eyes looked a little hopeful. Sure. I'll come over soon. Honestly, I'd love to spend more time with Shizuka. After all, she was supposed to be my wife in the original anime. If I could win her over early, that'd be even better. Some dangerous thoughts started popping up in my head. That afternoon, after saying bye to Shizuka, I went home as usual. Maybe it's the effect of the future diary, but my luck is so much better than before. On the way home, no dogs chased me, I didn't trip, and I didn't get randomly hit by a ball. Everything felt peaceful, almost too normal. But when I got home and showed Mom and Doraemon my perfect test paper, they couldn't believe it. Their faces lit up with joy to convince everyone I'd really changed. I'd been spending so much time at my desk, pretending to study hard. Guess it paid off. Mom and Doraemon were thrilled. You've been working so hard lately, Nobita, Doraemon said, honestly proud. Mom hugged me tightly, her soft, warm body pressing against mine in a way that made my heart race. I could feel every curve of her figure, and the sweet scent of her perfume filled my nostrils. Nobita, you don't have to force yourself. There are adults in this house. I just want you to grow up healthy and happy. I was caught off guard. I smiled gently. Don't worry, Mom, I'm not forcing myself. I just want to help you out a little more. That's all. I want to become the backbone of the Nobi family as soon as I can. Nobita. Mom was so moved, her body shook in my arms. The vibrations of her soft chest against mine made my head spin. All I could think was wow, so soft. Chapter 9, The Money-Making Plan, Part 1. Ever since my changes last time brought happiness to the whole Nobi family, it seems like life at home is finally back on track. But after the joy fades, reality still needs to be faced. Mom is kneeling in the living room. Her long legs are folded under her on the cushion, dainty little feet supporting her. That peach-shaped figure seems too soft, forming a slight curve under her feet. But right now, Mom doesn't realize how tempting she looks. Instead, she's holding a pen in one hand, frowning as she looks at the household accounts, scratching her head in distress. I know that Dad's compensation money really won't last much longer. The funeral last time, household expenses, and even my school fees, all of these need money. Money disappears fast, and when Dad was still around, he'd already racked up a lot of debt that still hasn't been paid off. Back then, Dad had a steady income. Sometimes there was even enough for Mom to keep a little stash for herself. But now, the money's only going out, not coming in. How do I know all this? Of course, I accidentally took a peek at the accounts. Looking at Mom like this, I know she's not feeling good. Maybe she's already thinking about going out to work in a few days. A lot of women here do that when there's not enough money at home. They go out to work. Jian's mother does that, for example, but that's not really a good thing. A full-time housewife means the family is well off, and the man can support the whole household. If the woman has to work, it just shows the family is in decline. Not to mention, this country is notorious for NTR stories. They love tales of pure wives being seduced and corrupted. Who knows if that could happen here? You wouldn't want that to happen to your own mother, right? Who knows what kind of people Mom might run into if she works outside. Even though Mom always says things like I'm already old, anyone can see she's still beautiful and charming, so I absolutely can't let that happen. If anyone's going to support this family, it has to be me. No way am I letting outsiders take advantage. I have to think of a way to stop Mom from going out to work. Maybe I should try making some money myself, but first, I need a way to get cash fast, something to reassure Mom, so she'll believe I can support the household. I thought for a while. Right. There was that treasure game in the original anime. There really was a treasure that could solve our urgent money problems, and it's not even far away, just in the forested hill behind our house. I remember it so clearly. In the anime, I almost got rich so close. Just thinking about it is frustrating. I have no idea if that treasure has been dug up yet. Wait, why don't I just ask Doraemon for a gadget to check? Once I had the idea, I ran straight upstairs. Doraemon was eating dorayaki as usual, so I went right up to him and asked, Doraemon, do you have any gadgets for finding treasure? Sure, why? You want to play a treasure hunting game? Doraemon asked, looking puzzled. Not really, it's just that I lost a few 100 yen coins in the back hills recently. I thought maybe you had a gadget that could help me look for them. It's boring to just look for them directly, but searching for treasure would be more fun. Oh, I see. Let me check. Got it. Doraemon didn't suspect anything as he rummaged through his 4D pocket treasure finder. Doraemon pulled out a pink device with a little searchlight attached at the bottom. He quickly explained, this is the treasure finder. It can search for hidden treasure underground. The closer you get, the stronger the reaction. The light gets brighter. My eyes lit up. I took the treasure finder from Doraemon with both hands. Then, dragging Doraemon along, I ran excitedly to the back hill. In the old Doraemon anime, the treasure wasn't found with a treasure finder. It was because I was playing a treasure game with Doraemon, and somehow Mom's jeweled ring got mixed up in the gadgets by a weird twist of fate. We found the treasure. I remember there was even someone else competing with us for it. The riddle about the treasure was unforgettable. In the anime, it was said to be under a cedar tree in the back hill, lined up with the skull specimen in the school. Honestly, I could find the spot myself, even without the treasure finder, but I still needed some excuse. Nobita, slow down. That's not how you look for treasure, Doraemon called, running after me with his stubby legs. Doraemon, the treasure finder is reacting. I exaggerated my tone. What? Let me see. Doraemon finally caught up to me. Hey? This reaction? It shouldn't be this strong for just a few 100 yen coins. Doraemon looked confused. Could it be, there's real treasure? Doraemon suddenly got excited. Hurry up, Nobita. If we're late, what if someone else finds the treasure? For once, Doraemon rushed ahead, charging in the direction pointed by the treasure finder. I couldn't help but laugh and cry at his reaction. Doraemon, slow down. I called, panting as I chased after him. Pretty soon, I led Doraemon to a cedar tree. I checked around. No one was nearby. Looking in the direction of the school, I could just see the skull specimen in the science room, and the treasure finder was reacting at full strength, muttering about how many dorayaki this could buy. Doraemon reached into his 4D pocket for another gadget. Mole gloves. These help with digging. Enough talking, Doraemon, just start digging. I urged him. Doraemon knew now wasn't the time for chit-chat, and got busy with the digging gadget. I have to say, Doraemon's gadgets are amazing. Seeing them in real life is totally different from watching them in the anime with the gloves on. Doraemon was like an excavator. Dirt flew everywhere, making a huge mess. After a while found it. Doraemon shouted excitedly. Really? Where? Let me see. I jumped into the hole Doraemon had dug. Looking over, I saw Doraemon holding a battered wooden box. He set it down and brushed off the dirt. Both of us were a little excited as I slowly opened the box. What appeared before my eyes were gold coins, covered in dirt, but unmistakably real. We made it. We made it, Doraemon. I hugged him in excitement. Dorayaki, how many dorayaki could we buy with this? Doraemon murmured, dazed. After celebrating for a while, the two of us quickly refilled the hole, then carried the ancient gold coins home. Thrilled. Chapter 10, The Money-Making Plan, Part 2. I couldn't believe our luck as Doraemon and I hauled the wooden chest full of ancient gold coins back home. The commotion we caused snapped Mom out of her worried daze. She was about to scold us when she saw us covered in dirt, clutching the mysterious box, but before she could get angry, I blurted out, Mom, we're rich now. Her eyes went wide as we opened the chest, revealing the glittering golden treasure inside. She reached out to touch the coins, as if making sure they were real. We found these, Mom, I explained excitedly. Now you don't have to worry anymore. Mom pulled me into a tight hug, not caring that I was filthy. I breathed in her familiar scent, feeling calm wash over me, but I also became acutely aware of her soft body pressed against mine, stirring unfamiliar feelings. She quickly composed herself, wiping away tears. Well then, you two go get cleaned up while I make dinner. You've certainly earned it today. While Doraemon rushed to bathe, I finished my homework first. As I finally stepped into the steamy bathroom alone, My mind wandered, what other ways could we make money to achieve my goals? Suddenly the door opened, interrupting my thoughts. Assuming it was Doraemon, I didn't think much of it, until I felt soft hands on my back. I turned to see Mom standing there in just a towel, her pretty face flushed in the misty air. Mom! I stammered in shock, my eyes roving over her curvaceous figure barely concealed by a thin towel. She smiled gently. You used to bathe with your father, remember? Now that he's gone, let me help wash you instead. Despite my embarrassment, her soothing touch felt electric as she scrubbed my back, her soft breasts pressing against me. I relaxed, enjoying this rare moment of closeness, my body responding eagerly to her ministrations. But when she hesitated, I realized she meant to wash my front too. As I turned, exposing my rock-hard erection, Mom's eyes went wide. An awkward silence fell between us. All right, you can finish up yourself, she said hurriedly. Her cheeks pink and nipples visibly hard through the damp towel. As she stood to leave, she suddenly slipped on the wet floor. Her towel fell away as she tumbled towards me with a yelp of pain, her luscious body colliding with mine. I quickly helped her up, getting an eyeful of her perfectly rounded ass and glistening pussy before she could cover herself again. She mumbled that she was fine and fled the bathroom in embarrassment, her voluptuous breasts bouncing enticingly as she ran. But I couldn't help grinning to myself. The image of her naked body seared into my mind, those perky nipples, that trimmed mound, those shapely thighs. Things were certainly getting interesting around here. In Tomoko's room, her face burned bright red, though a tiny smile played at her lips too. Chapter 11, The Money-Making Plan, Part 3. After what happened in the bathroom, I was in an incredibly good mood. I couldn't help but smile the whole time. The old gold coins that Doraemon and I brought back have been taken care of by Doraemon. Originally, Mom wanted to sell them herself, but I told her, don't show off our wealth, especially since we might have to pay taxes with Doraemon's gadgets. We didn't even have to leave the house. We used the useful vending machines to appraise and sell them right away through that vending machine. The coins sold for over 10 million yen, don't take that number too seriously. Now, the debts at home and some other expenses could finally be covered. At least we could live well for a few years. But if there's no new income for a while, I'd still have to find work. When she saw the stack of bills Doraemon put on the table, Mom was overjoyed. At least our immediate troubles were over. She even let out a sigh of relief. But honestly, I wasn't satisfied. This much money won't last that long, not to mention my real goals. Mom, please believe me from now on, I'll work hard to make money, so don't go out and work, okay? I'll make sure you live as well as before or even better, I said, looking her straight in the eyes. Okay, I believe you, but you should still study hard right now, she said, smiling. Mom, I tried to argue, but all right, I promise, I won't go look for work for now, she agreed, even though I'm not sure she understood why I didn't want her to work. Okay, with this much money, our problems are solved. Today's a good day. I'll cook a big feast to celebrate, and I'll buy an extra large dorayaki for you too. Mom quickly changed the subject when she saw I was about to say more. Yay! Mom's the best! Doraemon cheered, waving his little hands in the air. It was clear Mom didn't want to talk about it more, but at least she agreed not to go out to work. That alone was enough for me. Dinner was wonderful, but there wasn't any special treat for me tonight like last night. I felt a little disappointed, but as I thought things over, I came up with a great money-making idea. Doraemon. That night, I went to ask Doraemon for help. I had some inspiration, but needed a good way to make it happen. And what's the best way? Of course, ask Doraemon, my very own human cheat code. Doraemon, do you have any gadgets that can help me draw manga? Yes, that's my idea, drawing manga in the Doraemon world. Almost everyone loves manga. Being a manga artist is a respected profession. Manga? Why the sudden interest, Nobita? Are we running out of money already? Didn't you just get a ton from those coins? Doraemon asked in confusion. It's just, I see how hard Mom works for our family. I want to see if I can earn money too, to take some pressure off her. That's the only way I can really become an adult, I said, trying to sound as mature as possible. Amazing, Nobita. I support you. Doraemon said, clearly moved. Let me see. Doraemon rummaged through his four-dimensional pocket. Here. The thought imprint drawing paper. Whatever you imagine, it draws. And here's the writer's kin: once you go in, you won't be disturbed until you finish drawing. Go ahead, Nobita. Doraemon said, grinning. All right. I tiptoed into the kin. It looked small from the outside, but inside was a whole other world. Going down a short staircase, I found myself in a room the size of a decent apartment, 50 or 60 square meters, with a bathroom, shower, even food. It had everything. Time to get to work. But what to draw? Bleach? One Piece? No, those are too high level for the Doraemon world. The best-selling manga here are all ages, simple enough for adults and kids alike. Plus, I've forgotten a lot of Bleach and One Piece. I couldn't fully recreate them anyway. It would be better to use a set template, and add some local flavor. Suddenly, it hit me on the thought. Imprint drawing paper, words started to form. Title: Ninja Way in a world called the Ninja Continent. Then I sketched Naruto from memory. Next, the story: Uzumaki Naruto, a loser who challenges everything in Ninja Way. A set formula, a proven template, suitable for all ages. What could be better? If I had to pick a local flavor, Naruto is the top choice. Will this series be a hit? I think so. I drew in the kin, getting more excited as I went. When the series was finally finished, I let out a sigh of relief and put down the stack of drawing paper. The pile was taller than me. Suddenly, the kin opened, and I climbed out, trying to be as quiet as possible. How did it go, Nobita? Doraemon asked, eyes full of anticipation. It's done, Doraemon. Here, take a look at my first volume. I handed him the first completed volume. Of course, I'd finished all the manga for the monthly, but I could only carry one volume at a time. Still, the first volume was plenty after all. With manga, just like novels, the key is a steady stream. If you finish it all at once, there's nothing left from now on. As long as I turn in each chapter before the deadline, I'll have a steady income, not to mention other revenue, anime, merchandise, and more in the future. I can just sit back and watch the money roll. In Chapter 12, Nobita's manga, I handed my draft over to Doraemon, watching as he took it and started to read seriously at first. When he saw the story about a genius turning into a loser, he laughed. Nobita, is this you? Did you just make yourself the main character? But as Doraemon kept reading, he got more and more absorbed, his smile fading as he dove deeper. Is there more? He asked when he finished, sounding almost disappointed. That's just the first volume, I replied, feeling a little embarrassed. Anyway, I only wanted your opinion. What's up with you? Doraemon snapped out of it, realizing he'd gone way beyond just a quick look. Nobita, this is truly amazing. You're a genius manga artist. His eyes had this strange glow, almost admiration. This manga is going to be huge. Maybe even famous across the country. Doraemon was so excited. How many dorayaki should I buy then? Maybe I'll make a dorayaki mountain. No, a dorayaki sea. I'll swim in it, haha. He drifted off into his dorayaki daydream. Seeing Doraemon so hyped put me at ease. Maybe this manga wasn't so bad after all. My heart was pounding with excitement. The next day, Doraemon and I started submitting my manga to publishers. Shueisha, Shogakukan, you name it, we sent it everywhere. Cast a wide net, catch more fish, right? We figured we'd see who offered the best deal. Doraemon insisted I pick a pen name. He suggested weird ones like Dorayaki is delicious or Weird Little Cat. I shot them all down instead. I went with Yugi Muta. Doraemon asked if it meant anything. I told him, it's kind of like the name of a Heart of Cards god. Maybe it'll bring me luck. A few days passed, nervous, anxious days. Suddenly, the phone at home wouldn't stop ringing. Mom was baffled. Everyone was asking for Yugi Muta. We don't have anyone named that, she kept saying. But whenever Doraemon or I answered, we'd get into long debates with whoever was calling, never satisfied with their offers. Then, a few days later, the doorbell rang. Mom opened the door and saw two men in suits, already arguing with each other. But as soon as she opened up, they straightened out and politely asked, "Hello, is Yugi Muta sensei home?" "We don't," Mom started, about to say Yugi Muta didn't live here, but I called from behind, "That's me. Are you from the publishers?" Mom looked stunned. Her son, with a work good enough for publishers, and apparently really popular. Both men were shocked to see Yugi Muta was just a kid still. They didn't make a scene after all. there are precedents for genius kid manga artists. There was none of that underestimating drama you see in novels. These were seasoned PR guys. They stayed respectful. Yugi-sensei, I'm from Shueisha. Yugi-sensei, I'm from Shogakukan. We're here today to discuss your manga. Please, come in, I said, leading them to the living room. Mom just said, I'll make some tea. Acting like I was now the main pillar of the house, the two reps picked up on that right away and started negotiations in earnest. After a fierce round of bargaining, I chose Shueisha. Their offer matched all my expectations. Shogakukan offered more money, but Shueisha promised a 60/40 split. I'd get 40%, plus a guaranteed monthly minimum of 50,000 yen. I wasn't really after the minimum fee, though what really caught my eye was that Shueisha would give me a small company. Yes, you read that right, a real company, small, but mostly working in entertainment and publishing. Shueisha saw what I wanted and, desperate to land my manga, they just threw it in. The company only had a handful of employees and barely broke even. Might as well give it away for me. It meant skipping all the time and trouble of starting a company, like moving into a fully furnished house. So now I had a company, but since I was still a kid, Mom held the controlling rights. The talks went great, and we signed the contract on the spot. After I walked the publisher out, Mom finally asked, Nobita, what's going on? Mom, I wrote a manga, and the publishers loved it. Here, take a look at the contract. I handed it over. Grinning, she glanced at it and gasped, so much money? Plus royalties and even a whole company? This. She was so proud she couldn't even speak. Don't worry, Mom, didn't I say I'd support our family? I promised Dad I'd take good care of you too. My voice was gentle. Nobita. Mom suddenly hugged me, tears in her eyes. I wrapped my arms around her, feeling her warmth and the happiness of the moment. Just as I'd hoped, my manga exploded in popularity. Every bookstore was selling it. Kids everywhere were talking about ninjas and the saying "believe it." Mom was ecstatic every time a big payment arrived. She started celebrating with a little sake, smiling as she looked over the accounts, thinking how lucky she was to have this kind of life thanks to me. When she thought about how well I was doing now, she couldn't help but smile. One evening, I came downstairs for the bathroom and spotted Mom drinking alone. Doraemon wasn't home tonight. He said he had some important meeting at his future school and wouldn't be back until the day after tomorrow. I walked into the living room, planning to tell Mom not to drink so much. It's not good for her health. Nobita, just in time. Come have a drink with me and chat a bit. Now that you're the main breadwinner, it's time you get a taste of sake too. She invited me to sit beside her and poured me a little. I took a sip, a strong one. It burned going down and made me cough. She laughed when she saw my face turn red. Chapter 13, Eating Tamako. Nobi R18. I sat with my mother Tamako, listening as she chatted and drank. At first, she praised my recent accomplishments, then reminisced about my childhood. Soon though, she began pouring out her worries and fears as she drank more. Mom became increasingly emotional. She collapsed into my arms, sobbing while continuing to gulp down alcohol. I tried to comfort her, but she was inconsolable. Though I usually dislike people clinging to me while drinking, I made an exception for the beautiful woman in my embrace. Her voluptuous body pressed against mine, stirring desires I tried to suppress. I barely registered her slurred words, simply murmuring agreement. Suddenly, Mom shoved me to the floor, landing on top of me. Her large breasts pressed firmly against my chest as I inhaled her intoxicating scent. Almost involuntarily, I swallowed hard. Mom. I tentatively touched her head, but got no response. Emboldened by her unconsciousness, I let my hands wander, caressing her soft curves. The temptation was overwhelming. After an internal struggle, I made my decision. This was my chance to take what I truly wanted. I couldn't let it slip away. I gently turned Mom onto her back, drinking in her flushed face and delicate features. Removing her glasses, I marveled at her beauty. My cock throbbed painfully, aching to be buried inside her. My hands shook with excitement as I explored her body, savoring every inch of silky skin. I kissed her deeply, tasting the sweetness of her lips and sliding my tongue into her mouth. Mom let out a soft moan in her sleep. Soon, I had removed all barriers between us. We were finally skin to skin, and I reveled in the feeling of her naked form. My hands roamed over her curves, squeezing her soft flesh. I lavished attention on her breasts, alternating between massaging and tasting. I sucked her nipples into stiff peaks, flicking them with my tongue, working my way lower, I positioned myself at her entrance. Her pussy was already slick with arousal. With a whispered "I love you, Mom," I slowly pushed inside. The tight heat enveloped me as I sank deeper. Her velvety walls clenched around my shaft, drawing me in. Mom let out a small sound, but remained unaware as I began to move. The pleasure was indescribable as I rocked against her. I savored the taboo thrill of fucking my own mother. I took my time, savoring every sensation. Her body responded instinctively, drawing me in deeper. With each thrust I angled my hips to hit her G-spot, making her whimper and squirm. After what felt like hours of blissful connection, I finally reached my peak. Waves of ecstasy washed over me as I filled her with my essence. My cock pulsed, shooting rope after rope of hot cum deep into her womb. But I was far from satisfied. I repositioned us and began again, determined to claim every part of her. The night stretched on as I lost myself in passion. I flipped Mom onto her hands and knees, gripping her hips as I slammed into her from behind. She moaned in her sleep, her body instinctively pushing back against me. I reached around to pinch and tug at her nipples as I fucked her relentlessly. I growled, giving her ass a sharp slap. The sight of her jiggling flesh spurred me on. I pulled out, rolling her onto her back, hooking her legs over my shoulders. I plunged back inside her sopping wet cunt. I pounded into her with abandon, the wet slapping sounds filling the room. Her tits bounced enticingly with each thrust, wanting to taste her. I shifted us into a 69 position as I devoured her dripping pussy. I felt her lips wrap around my shaft. Even unconscious, she sucked me eagerly. I moaned, my voice muffled against her folds. I rimmed her puckered asshole, getting it nice and wet before slowly working a finger inside. Once she was relaxed, I flipped her over and eased my throbbing cock into her tight ass. Oh God, so tight, I groaned as I bottomed out. I fucked her ass with long, deep strokes, reveling in the taboo thrill. After filling her ass with my seed, I moved back to her pussy. I pounded her relentlessly, my hips jackhammering against her. Finally, with a roar of pleasure, I exploded inside her. Once more utterly spent, I collapsed beside her, gazing at the evidence of our joining, her holes leaking my cum, hickeys and bite marks covering her breasts and thighs. A satisfied smile spread across my face. I pulled Mom close, my softening cock still nestled inside her dripping pussy, and drifted off to sleep. Chapter 14, Comforting Mom Part 1. The next morning, I woke up before Mom did. Maybe it was because I'm a light sleeper, or maybe it was because of how we were positioned. Either way, I found myself awake while Mom was still fast asleep beside me, her warm body pressed against mine. As I watched her peaceful face, an idea suddenly came to me. I started to softly cry. Wah wah, my cock throbbed inside her as I faked distress. Mom seemed to be in a deep sleep, dreaming she was on a rocking boat. The waves made her feel uneasy in her dream, but the sound of water also lulled her into a comfortable sleep. After all the stress from the accident, she was finally able to relax. Her pussy clenched around me unconsciously, milking my shaft. But then she heard a familiar crying sound. Is that Nobita? She mumbled, slowly opening her eyes when she saw me naked and crying next to her. Mom suddenly became aware of her own body. She felt sore but satisfied, until she realized we were still joined intimately. Her face went pale as the memories of last night came flooding back, the drinking, the seduction, the passionate fucking. Oh no, what have I done? She whispered in horror. Mom remembered drinking too much and throwing herself at me. She recalled me crying out, "Mom, no," but everything after that was hazy, though her body remembered the intense pleasure. Mom pulled me into a tight hug, which only pushed us closer together. I had to bite back a moan at the sensation of sliding deeper into her wet heat. "I'm so sorry, Nobita," she sobbed. "This is all Mommy's fault. I should never have gotten drunk. I'm sorry for hurting you." Her hips rocked slightly as she spoke, stimulating us both. I didn't respond right away, savoring the feeling of being inside her. My cock twitched, growing harder. Mom started to panic at my silence, not realizing how much I was enjoying our intimacy. "Please forgive me. You can hit me or yell at me, just please don't hate me," she begged. "I'll do anything you want, just please forgive Mommy." Hearing her desperation, I knew it was time to speak up before things got out of hand. Mom," I said in a small, scared voice. "Oh Nobita, you're talking to me?" Mom cried in relief. "I'm sorry too, Mom. I shouldn't have come in when you were drinking," I said, playing the part of the innocent son. No, it's all my fault," Mom insisted. "Let's just forget this ever happened, okay? It was just a bad game we played." I looked her in the eyes. "Mom, I know what we did what only husbands and wives are supposed to do, right? Mom froze, her attempts at brushing it off shattered. I'm not a little kid anymore, I continued. I understand everything, I'm the man of the house now, aren't I? Mom stared at me in shock, realizing I wasn't her baby boy anymore. I was crying because I thought I hurt you, Mom, I said softly. No, sweetie, this is all my fault, she said, taking all the blame on herself. Can we really go back to how things were before? I asked, gazing into her eyes. After what happened between us? Mom's face went pale. You want to leave me? She gasped, clutching me tighter. No, I don't want to leave, I assured her. I forgive you, Mom. I'm not upset about what happened. Oh, Nobita. Mom cried in relief. But Mom, since it already happened, can we stay together forever? I asked carefully. No, we can't. It was a mistake, we can't continue this, Mom said frantically. Mom, listen, I interrupted. Do you know why I didn't want you to work before? I was scared you'd leave me someday, but now I can support our family. You've seen what I can do, right? Mom was speechless. As the man of the house, I can take care of you now. Will you let me? I asked firmly. But Mom wavered. I know, but we can't undo what happened. I don't want our family to fall apart, I pleaded. Mom, you're not old or ugly, you're beautiful and I love you more than anyone. Mom blushed at my praise. I know how hard things have been for you. You've done so much for our family. Let me be your support now, okay? I gazed into her eyes and gently wiped away her tears, pulling her close. Mom didn't resist, curling up against me like a kitten. Will you be with me, Mom? I asked again. Mom let out a long sigh. What choice do we have now? She said sadly. You naughty boy, wanting your own mother like this. Hearing her reluctant agreement filled me with excitement. Phase 1 of my plan was complete. Now it was time for the next step, though I'd call it comforting rather than anything unsavory. I couldn't help the mischievous smirk that crept onto my face as I held Mom close. Already planning our future together. Chapter 15, Comforting Mom Part 2 R18. I couldn't help but feel elated when Mom agreed to my request, her nude form already spread out beneath me like a feast for my eyes. My excitement quickly reignited my desire, which had momentarily subsided. My cock, already buried deep inside her velvety warmth, twitched with renewed vigor. Nobita, you Mom, as the owner of the garden, sensed it immediately. Her inner walls clenched around me, drawing a groan from my lips. Mom, since we're together now, can I trailed off, my meaning clear. My hips instinctively rocked, sliding my length along her slick channel. Mom understood, her face flushing red. You're the man of the house now, it's up to you, she whispered, her voice growing softer. Her nipples hardened into stiff peaks, begging for attention. But I heard her. My heart raced with anticipation. I could feel every quiver of her body, every pulse of her desire. Unable to contain myself, I gently pressed Mom further down on the tatami. I began to move slowly, savoring every sensation. Perhaps because of our previous encounter, her body welcomed me more readily this time, though still delightfully snug. Oh, Nobita! Mom moaned, her back arching as I bottomed out inside her. It's so wrong, but it feels so right. I increased my pace, our flesh slapping together in a lewd rhythm. Mom's breasts bounced enticingly with each thrust, and I couldn't resist leaning down to capture a rosy nipple in my mouth, suckling greedily. Yes, baby, just like that, Mom panted, her fingers digging into my back. Mommy loves you so much. My hands roamed freely, caressing and kneading her soft breasts. Mom, I love you so much, I whispered tenderly. She melted at my words, becoming even more pliant after I kissed her lips. She eagerly returned my affection, her tongue dancing with mine. Seeing Mom's enthusiastic response only fueled my excitement. This was far more thrilling than last night. The ability to communicate and interact made it infinitely better. I continued my rhythmic motions, eliciting sweet sounds from Mom. I alternated between fondling her curves and teasing her most sensitive spots, relishing every moment. Mom, I panted between thrusts, can you call me darling? Her face crimson, she breathed out, darling. Hearing that sent me over the edge. I increased my pace, causing Mom to plead for me to be gentler. But in my passion-addled mind, her protests only spurred me on. Under my relentless onslaught, Mom clung to me tightly, her limbs wrapped around me like a koala. We rocked together, lost in our shared pleasure. Suddenly, whether from the intensity of our lovemaking or some hidden trigger I'd found. Mom's body began to quiver violently. I felt a rush of warmth envelop me as she reached her peak. Haha. Mom gasped for air, her flushed face utterly captivating. How was it, Mom? Did it feel good? I asked with a grin. Instead of answering, she pulled me in for a deep, passionate kiss. I eagerly reciprocated, drinking in her sweetness. After a moment, I chuckled. Mom, I haven't finished yet. Want to try a different position? Though blushing furiously, she didn't object. I gently guided her onto her hands and knees. Seeing Mom in this vulnerable position, her beautiful curves on full display, I couldn't help but admire the view. Hurry up, she mumbled, embarrassed, but I wasn't about to rush. Good things should be savored. After all, I took my time, caressing her soft skin and preparing us both. Then, gripping her hips firmly, I entered her once more. We both cried out in pleasure as I began to move. I increased my pace. Gradually, my hands roaming from her hips to her breasts, teasing and pleasuring every inch of her. The room filled with the sounds of our lovemaking and Mom's sweet moans. Soon, I could feel Mom nearing her limit again. My own release wasn't far behind. Mom, I'm close, I groaned. I'm going to wait. Mom cried out suddenly. You shouldn't. We can't risk. I laughed softly. It's already happened once. What's one more time? Besides, the thought of truly making her mine in every way possible only excited me further. Realizing she couldn't stop me, Mom braced herself with a final thrust and a loud groan. I emptied myself deep inside her. Mom cried out as well, her body shuddering with another intense climax. We collapsed onto the tatami. Breathing heavily, I gathered Mom into my arms, gently stroking her hair as we basked in the afterglow. So, how was it this time, Mom? Good? I asked teasingly. Mom buried her face in my chest, tracing patterns on my skin. You're such a naughty boy, she murmured, though I could hear the affection in her voice. I simply smiled, continuing to caress her soft skin. We lay there in comfortable silence, enjoying the lingering sensations and each other's warmth. Comforting Mom was most definitely complete. Chapter 16, Comforting Mom Part 3, R18. Ever since I opened up to Mom, our relationship has blossomed into something incredibly close and intimate. I often hold her in my arms, whispering sweet nothings that make her blush adorably. In this charged atmosphere, I decided to take things further, eager to explore new depths with Mom. As I held her close, caressing her softly, a mischievous idea struck me. Mom, could you help me with something? I asked with a devilish grin. I leaned in to whisper my request in her ear. Mom's face turned beet red, practically steaming. Nobita. I've never done anything like that before, she stammered. Her innocence only excited me more. Don't be scared, there's a first time for everything. Be brave and try it, I coaxed gently. Slowly, I guided her head downward. Seeing the anticipation in my eyes, Mom realized she couldn't refuse her darling boy. She nervously complied with my wishes. With trembling hands, she reached for my zipper, fumbling slightly as she pulled it down. I helped her free my throbbing member, already rock hard with anticipation. Mom's eyes widened at the sight, a mix of shock and curiosity dancing across her features. It's okay, Mom, I reassured her, gently stroking her hair. Just start slow. Use your tongue. Hesitantly, she extended her tongue, giving an experimental lick along the shaft. The warmth of her mouth sent shivers through my body. Encouraged by my sharp intake of breath, she grew bolder, wrapping her lips around the tip. The sensation was incredible. I couldn't help crying out in pleasure watching Mom work so diligently below. I stroked her silky hair affectionately, encouraging her efforts. My praise seemed to spur her on even more enthusiastically. She began to bob her head, taking me deeper with each pass. Her inexperience was evident, but her eagerness to please more than made up for it. The wet sounds of her mouth working my cock filled the room, punctuated by my groans of ecstasy. As things intensified, I felt a powerful rush of domination. My hips began to move of their own accord. Thrusting gently into her willing mouth, Mom gagged slightly but didn't pull away, determined to satisfy her son's desires. That's it, Mom, I moaned. You're doing so well. Her cheeks hollowed as she sucked harder, her tongue swirling around the sensitive head. The dual sensations of physical pleasure and taboo excitement pushed me closer to the edge. With a final cry of release, I exploded in her mouth. Mom's eyes widened in surprise, but she valiantly tried to swallow every drop, only a little escaping to dribble down her chin. Afterwards, I helped Mom clean up and get dressed, though I couldn't resist teasing her a bit more, earning me some playful scolding as I zipped up her dress, I planted a kiss on her flushed cheek. "Thank you, Mom," I whispered. "That was amazing. We'll have to do it again sometime." She blushed furiously but didn't disagree, and I knew our relationship had changed forever. Finally, I pulled Mom into my arms as she cuddled against me. "You're always taking advantage of your poor mother," she pouted. "But it's to deepen our bond," I protested with a sheepish grin. "You'd better treat me well from now on." Mom sighed in resignation. "Of course," I assured her, my hands wandering as I pondered what new experiences we could try next. Just then, Doraemon's voice rang out from the living room. "Nobita, I'm home." Mom tensed up in panic. We'd been so wrapped up in each other lately that we'd nearly forgotten about Doraemon. We were caught off guard, still tangled together. Doraemon gave us a quizzical look, but didn't seem to suspect anything amiss. He just laughed. "How cute, Nobita. Aren't you a bit old to be cuddling with Mom like that?" I pretended to be embarrassed as Doraemon headed upstairs. Mom and I both breathed sighs of relief, but our intimate moment was broken. "Doraemon's here," Mom whispered before darting away like a startled rabbit. I was left alone, grumbling internally at Doraemon for interrupting our quality time together. Later that night, when I tried to convince Mom to let me sleep in her room, she firmly refused. Of course, she knew exactly what I had in mind. I couldn't bring myself to force the issue, so I had to settle for gazing at her longingly. Still, as I drifted off to sleep, I was already scheming about how we could sneak around behind Doraemon's back. Our passionate explorations were far from over. Chapter 17, Increasing My Power, Part 1. Ever since Doraemon came back, my intimate interactions with Mom pretty much stopped. She wouldn't let me get up to any mischief while Doraemon was around, so I focused my attention on my career instead. That manga I created has been a huge hit, bringing in massive profits. Checking my bank account now, the balance is in the billions of yen and it keeps growing. I guess you could say I'm not hurting for money anymore. I've got more than some publicly traded companies. I renamed that company I acquired to Nobita Entertainment, Inc. Why? It's easy to remember and lets everyone know it's my company even though it's technically an entertainment company. Right now it mostly just handles merchandise and distribution for my works. I was planning to have them produce the anime and movies too, but the company is still too small and doesn't have the right connections, so I had to give the anime rights to Tokyo TV. I'm holding on to the movie rights for now. Maybe I can do something with those in the future, but now that I've got all this money, I've started thinking about other things like how to stay alive. It suddenly hit me that Doraemon's world isn't exactly the safest place without us going on adventures to save the world. Forget living happily, the entire human race and planet Earth would be doomed. So as the savior of the world, don't I deserve to have a harem? I'm risking my life here, after all. Ahem, anyway those adventures are still necessary, or else the timeline might get all weird, but they're not easy. We're constantly fighting demon kings, evil emperors, dinosaur people, even taking on entire countries full of robots with just a few people. It's insane. Without Doraemon and my protagonist plot armor, even 100 Dekasugis wouldn't stand a chance. I figure it's safest to stick to the original storyline, but to be extra careful and protect my life, and maybe achieve that harem dream, I need to level up my abilities. Having real power is the only way to get things done. Without it, all my plans would crumble if I ever had to fight for my life. As for improving my skills, I've got ranged combat covered. My innate max level sharpshooter ability is already universe class, can't get any better than that. At first I thought I'd lost it when I came to this world, but after trying it out, I found it was not only still there, but even better due to my increased strength and steadier grip. The cat's cradle skill seems useless, but I've found ways to apply it, like bandaging wounds super easily. I can also do all kinds of rope tricks now, from elaborate knots to setting traps. Anything involving ropes, I can learn crazy fast. I even looked up advanced rope techniques online to practice. Then there's the ability to fall asleep instantly, great for quick recovery, though I don't sleep in as late as I used to. Still a handy skill, but I need to round out my abilities more, like close combat. I want to improve my swordsmanship. I've got a talent for it in the anime, even crossing swords with the legendary Miyamoto Musashi. So I asked Doraemon if he had anything that could help. He pulled out an item right away, the sword of Denkomaru. I was confused at first. It looked like a toy sword, but Doraemon explained, Denkomaru can theoretically block any attack. Wielding it gives you master level swordsmanship when electrified, it turns gold and activates, but how does that help me learn swordsmanship? I asked. By using it, you're essentially carrying around a master swordsman as a teacher, Doraemon said. If you practice following its movements and correct your form, you'll become a skilled swordsman in no time. Reaching true mastery beyond that will take your own effort though. I see, got it. I nodded and took the blade. It really did look like a toy, but when I turned on the power, it effortlessly sliced through everything Doraemon tossed at me, guiding my movements. That's amazing. I couldn't help but exclaim, oh yeah, Doraemon, what about that ESP training box? I asked next. Yep, my other method for powering up is psychic abilities. They're relatively easy to obtain in Doraemon's world and great for boosting magical attacks and defenses. I'm basically treating psychic powers as magic, even though they're technically scientific, but they're the only non-physical combat skills available. The psychic powers include telekinesis, teleportation, and clairvoyance, perfect for offense, defense, mobility, and reconnaissance. Super versatile. The only downside is needing to train 3 hours a day for 3 years, but if I master them, I'll be like a mini Homelander. At the highest levels, I could create psychic barriers, mind control enemies, maybe even pull off Pain's almighty push or Fujitora's meteor strikes from One Piece. Demon Kings and Emperors would be nothing, I'd smack them all down single-handedly. And if they're hard to kill? I'll just keep killing them over and over. Ahem, I'm getting carried away. Back to reality. I looked at Doraemon expectantly. Geez, you haven't even mastered swordsmanship yet and you're already aiming higher, he grumbled, but he still reached into his 4D pocket and pulled out the ESP training box. This kit can teach you telekinesis, teleportation, and clairvoyance, he explained, but you need to practice 3 hours every day for 3 full years to fully master them. You have to stick with it consistently, he warned. No getting bored after 3 days and giving up. Alright, I get it, I said with a sigh. Doraemon set the box down on the tatami mat and had me start my psychic training right away. Number support with power stones. Number every 400 power stones equals bonus chapter. Chapter 18, Increasing my power, Part 2. The first psychic I experimented with was telekinesis. Concentrating hard, I stared at the box. Say move, move, in my mind. To my amazement, it actually floated up. Wow, Nobita, that's incredible. You succeeded on your first try. Doraemon praised me. In the original anime, my powers were delayed by 10 minutes, but I just did it instantly. Maybe my innate talent is better than the original Nobita's? Or perhaps my mental strength is greater. After all, psychics seem to rely on some mystical mental energy like in novels. This is quite rare even in the future world, Doraemon mused. At this rate, you could master it quickly with more practice, hey? Doraemon, didn't you say it takes 3 hours a day for 3 years? I asked, confused. That's true, but that's the standard training time for an average person in the future, Doraemon explained with a smile. It's the minimum requirement for almost anyone to gain powers, but the more talented you are and the more you practice, the faster you'll learn. Hearing this, I nodded in understanding. I then tried teleportation and clairvoyance, succeeding immediately with those as well, though I could only teleport a meter or 2 at most and my clairvoyance only worked through thin objects within a couple meters. With clairvoyance, I could see through anyone's clothes. Hee hee. I thought mischievously. My mind wandered to Shizuka's delicate figure, imagining her soft skin and budding curves beneath her uniform. But wait, what if I accidentally saw something gross, like Jian or Sunio naked? Ugh, maybe I should use that power sparingly. The ESP training box felt like a temporary buff machine. Use it once, and you get powers for a day. With more practice, the duration extends until they become permanent. It reminded me of those radiation machines in movies that give people psychics, except the training box was safe and scientific. I settled into a routine of sword practice, psychic training, and homework. My swordsmanship improved quickly. I'd probably master the basics in a week or 2. As for my powers, I could now maintain them for a month at a time, but since I trained constantly, even carrying the box with me, that time limit meant nothing. It was like having an endless subscription. The powers hadn't grown stronger, though no almighty push or planetary devastation for me yet. Maybe that would come once they were permanent. School had gotten boring. The elementary lessons that initially intrigued me now felt trivial. I aced all the tests without hiding my abilities. The only interesting part was seeing Shizuka every day. Chatting with her always brightened my mood. I loved watching her lips move as she spoke, imagining how they might feel against mine. Unfortunately, Mom hadn't let me touch her lately since Doraemon was always home. I missed the softness of her breasts, the warmth of her thighs wrapped around me. The memory of our passionate encounters made my body tingle with desire. I sighed in disappointment. Just then, a sweet voice called out behind me, "Nobita, are you free? Want to come play at my house?" I turned to see Shizuka smiling at me. Go to her place? Sure. It'd be nice to deepen our bond. My heart raced at the thought of being alone with her. Plus, I suddenly remembered Shizuka's attractive mother, those long legs, that curvaceous figure barely contained by her house dress. I felt a familiar stirring in my pants as I imagined peeling that dress off her mature body. Sure, Shizuka, I replied eagerly. I'd love to come over. As we walked to her house, my mind raced with possibilities. Would this be my chance to finally make a move on Shizuka? Or perhaps an opportunity to seduce her sexy mom? Either way, I was determined to make the most of this visit. Number support with power stones. Number every 400 power stones equals bonus chapter. Chapter 19. Chapter 19, Visiting Shizuka's House, Part 1. The thought of Shizuka's mom made my heart race. She was truly a beautiful woman. Sure, I'd love to come over and play at your house, I agreed eagerly to Shizuka's invitation. That's great, Nobita, Shizuka exclaimed, seeming pleasantly surprised by my enthusiasm. Seeing how happy she was made me look forward to the visit even more. We walked side by side, chatting and laughing as we made our way to her home. As we strolled, Shizuka maintained her ladylike demeanor, hands folded neatly in front of her as she took measured steps. I couldn't help but admire how she already had the grace of a Yamato Nadeshiko at such a young age. But having watched the original anime, I knew that beneath her refined exterior, Shizuka had a playful, energetic side too. Perhaps like the heroines in movies and TV shows, outwardly calm people often harbored passionate, adventure-seeking hearts. Gazing at Shizuka's adorable face, I couldn't suppress a smile. Before long, we arrived at her house. It was similar to mine, a two-story wooden structure, but while my yard only had a barren persimmon tree and some weeds, Shizuka's was filled with colorful flowers and even had a small garden in the corner. The beautiful blooms hinted at the family's refined tastes. They also had a white dog named Pero. Come to think of it, I was the only one in our group who didn't have a pet. Jian had Muku, Sunio had Chiruchuru. Shizuka opened the front door and called out, "Mom, I'm home." A melodious voice replied from inside, "Welcome back, Shizuka." Then a beautiful woman emerged from the living room. She wore a yellow round neck top and a red pencil skirt, an outfit nearly identical to my mom's save for the colors. Her lovely features bore a striking resemblance to Shizuka's, highlighting their close relation. This was Shizuka's mother, the epitome of grace and elegance. Her figure was curvaceous, though her clothes concealed the exact proportions. But even through the fabric, I could make out generous swells that hinted at hidden treasures. Her delicate face seemed untouched by time, skin fair and radiant. Standing next to Shizuka, they could easily be mistaken for sisters. "Oh, Nobita's here too. Please, come in," Shizuka's mom said with a warm smile. "Hello, ma'am, sorry for the intrusion," I replied politely. "Not at all. Why don't you two go play upstairs? I'll prepare some tea and snacks," she offered before heading to the kitchen. As she turned, I couldn't help but admire her shapely backside. The curve of her hips and long, slender legs disappearing under that red skirt left much to the imagination. "Nobita, what should we play first?" Shizuka's voice snapped me out of my daze. I quickly averted my gaze, turning my attention back to her as we entered her room. True to expectations, a girl's bedroom, clean, tidy, with a subtle fragrance in the air. Pink was the dominant color scheme. Shelves displayed Shizuka's collection of dolls and pretend play toys, revealing her girlish side. We started with a game of cards, but soon grew bored as we chatted, Shizuka suddenly remembered she had unfinished homework. She eagerly asked for my help. Given my recent string of perfect scores, unlike Dekisuji though, I found her enthusiasm a bit overwhelming. She praised me effusively for every answer, leaving me flustered and unsure how to respond. Number support with power stones. Number every 400 power stones equals bonus. Chapter 20 Chapter 20 Visiting Shizuka's House, Part 2. I watched as Shizuka's mom gracefully entered the room, carrying a tray of snacks and tea. At first, she seemed surprised to see me tutoring Shizuka, but then a look of understanding crossed her face. I guess Shizuka had told her about my recent academic improvements as I helped Shizuka with the last problem. I couldn't help but notice how elegant Shizuka's mom looked as she knelt down to serve us tea. Her long, shapely legs folded beneath her, and when she leaned forward, I caught a glimpse of her full, womanly figure. I tried not to stare, but it was hard to ignore how beautiful she was. Atadakamesu, Shizuka and I said in unison as we settled down to enjoy the treats. I carefully picked up a piece of the homemade confection and savored it slowly. It was delicious. No wonder Shizuka loved baking so much. I could taste the influence of her mother's skill as I sipped the tea. Shizuka's mom asked how we liked everything. I smiled and told her how good it all was, trying to be as polite and charming as possible. She seemed pleased by my manners, and I could tell she was impressed by how much I'd changed after chatting with us for a bit. Shizuka's mom excused herself, telling us to call if we needed anything as she left. I admired her graceful movements and understood where Shizuka got her ladylike demeanor from. Once we were alone, Shizuka visibly relaxed. We spent the rest of the afternoon playing games, reading manga, and just enjoying each other's company. Being in her cozy room, surrounded by her sweet scent and cheerful laughter, filled me with happiness. I wished the day would never end. I couldn't believe it when Sunio suddenly invited us all over to his house. As I walked there with Shizuka, Jian, and the others, I had a strange feeling of déjà vu, like I knew what was coming next. Sure enough, as soon as we arrived, Sunio dramatically unveiled a T-Rex model and a framed fossil claw. He launched into his usual boasting. Long ago, about 100 million years in the past during the Cretaceous period, dinosaurs ruled the land. I sighed internally. Here we go again with the movie plot. Was there really no escaping it? Jian quickly grew impatient with Sunio's long-winded intro. Get to the point already, he snapped. Sunio huffed but obliged, showing off the T-Rex claw fossil his dad had brought back from the USA as the others oohed and ahed over it, passing it around. I noticed Sunio deliberately skipped me when it came time to look at it up close. Typical Sunio, always finding ways to exclude me. I bit back my annoyance, knowing I had to play along with the storyline, so I put on my best bravado and declared, "Big deal. I could find way better fossils than that. I'll dig up a whole dinosaur skeleton and show you all." Ugh, it felt so cringy to say out loud, but Sunio and Jian took the bait, immediately pouncing on my boast. "Oh really?" Sunio smirked. "You'd better not be lying, or you'll have to eat spaghetti with your nose." I could see the gleam in their eyes. They'd been looking for an excuse to mess with me lately, and I'd just handed them the perfect opportunity, but I had to stick to the script. I am serious," I stammered, trying to look confident. "Just you wait and see." Shizuka looked worried. "Nobita, don't," she started to say, but I cut her off with a wink. "It's okay, I've got this under control," I assured her, even though my stomach was already churning with nerves as Sunio and Jian cackled and made Shizuka witness our bet. I steeled myself for the adventure ahead. At least I knew how it was supposed to end. Hopefully my newfound skills would make things go a bit smoother this time around. Number support with power stones. Number every 400 power stones equals bonus. Chapter 21 Chapter 21 The Dinosaur Egg. I made plans with Sunio and Jian, then headed out on my own. If this were a video game, a quest accepted notification would have popped up for sure. I chuckled at the thought. In the anime, I'd probably run back home yelling for Doraemon right about now, but I didn't need to follow the script that closely as long as the overall outcome was good and didn't mess with my future knowledge. I could tweak things however I wanted. After all, I was here to enjoy myself, not suffer needlessly. With that in mind, I sprinted straight for the mountain behind our neighborhood. I remembered from the original story that the egg was buried in someone's backyard at the base of a cliff. There it is. I spotted the house I was looking for. I marched right up to the owner and boldly asked if I could dig for a dinosaur egg fossil in his yard. I sweetened the deal by offering to help bury his trash in the hole afterward. The guy seemed skeptical at first, but the idea of a free garbage pit won him over. Armed with a shovel, I got to work. Suddenly, I hit something hard. Clearing away the dirt revealed an oval-shaped object, black as coal. This is it, I exclaimed triumphantly. The owner glanced at my find, probably hoping it was something valuable. When he saw what looked like a lump of coal, he just shook his head at my childish excitement. He had me fill in the hole with trash, then sent me on my way. I hurried home, clutching my precious cargo. This was the advantage of knowing the story. I could take the most direct path to my goal. It's why I preferred not to mess with the original plot too much. I wanted to avoid any unforeseen complications. Back home, I immediately asked Doraemon, "Hey, can I borrow the time cloth?" "What for, Nobita?" he asked. Puzzled, I explained about my bet with Sunio and Jian. Doraemon burst out laughing. "Oh Nobita, why would you make a bet like that?" he scolded playfully. "How can you be sure it's even a dinosaur egg? It could just be a regular rock. Even if it is a fossil, it might be some kind of fruit or maybe even woolly mammoth poop." Still chuckling, he pulled the time cloth from his 4D pocket. I ignored his teasing and wrapped the egg in the clock-patterned cloth. As I listened to the ticking sound of the time cloth activating, I marveled at how amazing Doraemon's gadgets were. After about 15 minutes, a soft chime signaled that the egg had been transported back 100 million years to the Cretaceous period. I unwrapped it to reveal a brown speckled dinosaur egg. Doraemon's eyes went wide with shock. He clearly hadn't expected me to actually find one. Next, I asked Doraemon for an incubator. There was no way I was going to try hatching it under my blankets like in the original story. That seemed way too risky. What if I accidentally broke it? Besides, I wasn't about to lose sleep over this egg. I carefully placed the egg in the incubator and left it alone. By tomorrow, a baby dinosaur would emerge. I could hardly wait to see the looks on Sunio and Jian's faces. As the morning sun's rays gradually filtered into the room, I heard faint cracking sounds coming from the incubator. My eyes flew open and I bolted upright. "Doraemon! Doraemon, come quick and look!" Doraemon startled awake, but there was no time to worry about that now. We both stared intently at the brown speckled dinosaur egg in the incubator. The golden sunlight played across its surface, highlighting the growing network of cracks. With each passing moment, the shell fractured further, heralding the arrival of new life. Finally, the egg split open and a long-necked creature poked its head out, letting out soft pi sounds. "Wow!" Doraemon exclaimed in wonder. He explained, "This is a type of sauropod called Futabasaurus. It lived near the coast of Japan during the Cretaceous period." I grinned. "Let's name him Pi-Isuk." Doraemon suggested we show him off to Sunio and the others to scare them, but I had more pressing concerns, namely, the dinosaur poaching syndicate that could be lurking anywhere. They were the real threat, potentially endangering my life. I needed to lure them out and deal with them permanently. Until then, I wouldn't feel safe. So I told Doraemon, "Not yet, he's too small. They'd just laugh and say he's a lizard. Let's raise him to at least 10 meters first." "What? You want to raise him that big?" Doraemon asked incredulously. From that day on, in addition to sword practice and honing my psychic abilities, I devoted myself to caring for the dinosaur. Unlike in the original story, I didn't have to hide Pi-Isuk from Mom anymore. She was completely under my control now, obeying my every word without question. I was the undisputed head of the household. As Pi-Isuk grew too large for even the closet, I moved him to the park lake like in the original timeline, but he soon became difficult to conceal, with lucky park goers catching glimpses of him. I was getting impatient, waiting for the villains to show up. Finally, one day a giant black eye like a balloon appeared in my room. I knew the antagonists had arrived at last. I braced myself, on high alert. Even though this encounter hadn't been dangerous in the original story, these poachers were ruthless criminals with deadly weapons who knew if they might actually open fire this time. A thin black line appeared in my room, widening into a doorway. Out crawled a figure in a black cowboy outfit with a bat-like mask, wearing an emblem of a bound dinosaur. Who are you? I asked coldly, secretly ready to teleport at any moment. Hey, who I am and where I'm from doesn't matter, the black mask sneered. I'll cut to the chase. You've raised a dinosaur, right? You mean Paisuk? I replied, exactly. I've never seen a dinosaur so close to humans before. I want it. Name your price. I'll pay anything. He's not for sale, I said icily. Don't underestimate me, kid, the black mask growled, twirling a revolver menacingly. I could take him by force anytime. I'm trying to be nice here. Suddenly, an alarm blared from somewhere. The black mask cursed about someone interfering, then turned to flee back through the portal before vanishing. He snarled, I won't give up on Paisuk. As the doorway faded away, I breathed a sigh of relief, but I knew it was time to move to the next phase, sending Paisuk back to the Cretaceous period. That night, while a search party investigated rumors of a lake monster in the park, Doraemon and I snuck out using the small light. We shrank Paisuk down and brought him home. Without further ado, we boarded the time machine, ready to journey to the Cretaceous era. Number support with power stones. Number every 400 power stones equals bonus chapter. Chapter 22. Chapter 22, Journey to the Cretaceous period. This was my first time riding in the time machine since coming to this world. The time tunnel truly was like a tunnel, with our machine flying through it. Flowing clocks surrounded us on all sides. Suddenly, someone shouted from behind us to stop. How is this possible? Doraemon exclaimed in surprise at being pursued. I quickly told him, they're after Paisuk. Hearing this, Doraemon immediately accelerated. The masked man behind us sped up too, extending a mechanical arm from his time machine to try and grab us. Though Doraemon complained about the other machine's superior performance, his piloting skills were impressive despite our outdated model. He expertly dodged and weaved, staying ahead of our pursuer's grasp. You're amazing, Doraemon, I thought excitedly during the thrilling chase. Just as I was about to use my powers to blast the other machine, giant white eyeball robots suddenly appeared. The masked man muttered in frustration before retreating, saying he'd be back. We're safe at last. Doraemon sighed in relief. After traveling a bit further, we finally reached the exit. As we emerged from the time tunnel, a primeval landscape came into view, a dense, misty forest with enormous trees dripping with moisture. Doraemon landed the time machine on a beach outside the forest. We restored Paisuk to his original size and bid him farewell, telling him to live happily in this world. As we walked back to the time machine, Paisuk cried out pitifully behind us. I knew this wasn't actually Cretaceous Japan, so we'd meet again. I had to let things play out according to the original story, even if it meant temporary hardship for Paisuk. Why change the plot unnecessarily when I could use my foreknowledge to my advantage? Doraemon thought I was being strong for Paisuk's sake. He kept trying to console me, which was pretty amusing since I knew the truth. The next day, Jian and Sunio showed up demanding I fulfill our bet. Knowing it was time for our group of 5 to assemble, I skipped the part where they'd pin me to the table. Instead, I told them I'd prove myself soon, but we needed to gather Shizuka and Doraemon first. Though skeptical, they didn't dare mess with me given my new abilities. Once everyone was present, I had Doraemon bring out the time TV. Despite his concerns about making me miss Paisuk, I insisted it was fine. As expected, the TV showed Paisuk being bullied. Sunio identified him as a Alamosaurus living in North America. Doraemon cried. We accidentally sent Paisuk to Cretaceous America instead of Japan due to a time machine malfunction. Before Doraemon could protest further, we all piled into the drawer and entered the time tunnel. Poor Doraemon piloted the beat-up machine with all 5 of us crammed inside. After a wild, bumpy ride, we finally emerged in Cretaceous North America, right where we'd originally left Paisuk. As I stumbled out of the time machine onto the sandy beach, my heart was racing with excitement. We had actually made it to the Cretaceous period. And there, in the distance, I could see a familiar figure, Paisuk. Paisuk! It's been so long! I called out, feeling a wave of nostalgia as my old dinosaur friend came bounding towards us. Sunio and Jian quickly admitted defeat, apologizing for doubting me. Even Shizuka looked a bit sheepish for not believing in me. Meanwhile, Doraemon was trying to awkwardly hide the battered state of the time machine behind him. I had to stifle a laugh. I already knew it was broken, but I wasn't worried. I had my own ways of getting us back if needed to distract from the time machine situation. Doraemon suggested we all go play for a while before heading back. Sunio and Jian eagerly agreed, ready to splash in the prehistoric waters. Shizuka hesitated, always the good girl, worried about getting home late, but Doraemon assured her we could return to the exact moment we left using his dress-up camera. Doraemon outfitted us all in swimwear. I couldn't help but steal a few glances at Shizuka in her red swimsuit. Her long, smooth legs were on full display, and the tight fabric accentuated her budding curves in all the right places. I felt a familiar stirring as I admired her. Without hesitation, I dove into the water and started swimming. Everyone was shocked. They still thought of me as the old Nobita who couldn't swim, but I wasn't that person anymore. I showed off with butterfly strokes and freestyle, reveling in their surprised expressions while Sunio and Jian went off to play with Paiisuke. Shizuka and I splashed around together in the warm Cretaceous sea. The sound of her laughter was music to my ears as we explored a coral reef. Shizuka suddenly lost her footing. She started to fall backwards, and instinctively I reached out to catch her. Our lips met as she fell against me. For a moment we both froze, then I wrapped my arms around her and deepened the kiss. Her mouth was so soft, her tongue sweet as I gently explored. When we finally parted, Shizuka's cheeks were flushed pink. "Nobita, you're so bad," she scolded, but she didn't push me away. Emboldened, I pulled her close again, capturing her lips in another passionate kiss. This time she barely resisted, even seeming to kiss me back. My hand found its way to her chest, cupping the soft mound through her swimsuit. She was small, but perfectly formed. Suddenly Shizuka tensed and pulled away, looking flustered. I could hear the others approaching, so I released her. She hurried off, but not before I caught the shy smile on her face as I watched her go. A mischievous grin spread across my face. This Cretaceous adventure was shaping up to be very interesting indeed. Number support with power stones. Number every 400 power stones equals bonus chapter. Chapter 23. Chapter 23. Journey to the Cretaceous Period Part 2. When I returned to the beach to meet up with everyone, Jian and Sunio were already grilling. Shizuka seemed back to normal, though she kept glancing at me shyly as we sat around the campfire enjoying our Cretaceous vacation. A series of massive tremors suddenly shook the ground. Shizuka was the first to notice. "Everyone be quiet and listen carefully," she said. We all fell silent. The tremors grew stronger and stronger. Suddenly, the trees behind us parted to reveal an enormous eye. We turned to see a house-sized Tyrannosaurus Rex looming over us. Drawn by the firelight, the T-Rex bared its massive teeth, clearly intending to devour us in one bite. Everyone screamed and scrambled backwards, except for me. Without hesitation, I pulled Shizuka into my arms, shielding her with my body as I faced the dinosaur, ready to unleash my powers if needed. Shizuka clung to me, crying, "Help, Nobita." I knew this was my chance to be her hero. Holding her tight, I said soothingly, "Don't be afraid, I'm here." Doraemon's voice quavered as he said, "Don't panic everyone, wild animals are afraid of fire. Are dinosaurs really afraid of fire?" Jian asked skeptically, trembling whether it would work or not. I had to try keeping Shizuka safely behind me. I grabbed a large burning log from the fire and waved it at the T-Rex, trying to drive it away. Maybe the flames singed it, or maybe it just wasn't that hungry, but the T-Rex gave us one last look before turning and lumbering away. We all breathed a huge sigh of relief. Shizuka threw her arms around me, sobbing, "That was so scary, Nobita. The old hero saves the damsel trick works every time. My likability must be skyrocketing." I gently rubbed her back, murmuring, "It's okay now, I've got you." Just as Sunio was about to make a run for the time machine, Doraemon's face fell. "The time machine is broken," he said gravely. "I think it happened during the masked man's attack." "You mean we can't go home?" Sunio asked, his voice shaking. "What kind of joke is this?" Jian exploded, "Making us ride in this piece of junk. You have to take responsibility." Sunio yelled angrily. Shizuka clung to me even tighter, her voice panicked. Oh no, what are we going to do if we can't get back? I just kept stroking her soft back, saying nothing. Then Doraemon explained that only the spatial movement function was broken. If it's just the spatial part, can't we still use the time travel to get back to our era? I asked. We can, Doraemon replied, but we'd have to bring the time machine back to the exact spot we left from, our house in Tokyo, in Nobita's room, in the correct position in his drawer. Everyone's hearts sank even further. How could we possibly do that from prehistoric North America? I knew this was coming, so I skipped the pointless arguments and suggested the correct solution from the original story. We could use the take-copter to fly back to Japan. We can fly for 4 hours, then rest. We can cover long distances that way over an extended period. Plus, Japan and North America were still connected by land back then, so we'll have places to rest along the way. Doraemon pondered this, then brightened. That could work. It would take a long time, but we could even walk if we had to. Everyone perked up at this news. I knew this part of the plot was beginning. Though the journey would be difficult, there wouldn't be any real danger. I could even use the time to practice my psychic. My swordsmanship was already mastered, but my other abilities still needed work. This would be a perfect opportunity to train and grow stronger, and if we did run into any real threats, I could always unleash my full power and eliminate them. No need to hold back against villains. After all, as we began preparing for our long journey home, I couldn't help but smile. Shizuka was still holding onto me, and I had no intention of letting her go anytime soon. This adventure was about to get very interesting indeed. Chapter 24, Journey to the Cretaceous Period Part 3. Shizuka's eyes shone with admiration when she saw the effective plan I came up with. I could feel the affection progress bar ticking up again, and just like that, our 5-person team started preparing for a long journey. During the day, we'd fly with our take-copters, traveling, playing, and enjoying the sights. At night, we'd stay in Doraemon's apartment. Pretend tree. Honestly, it felt just like a vacation. Not that I minded. I could train my psychic powers with my ESP training box. Even while soaring through the sky day and night, I kept practicing, and I could feel my stamina with psychic powers growing at an insane rate. Back home, too many distractions made it hard to focus, but here in the Cretaceous, I could dedicate myself to training on the way. Doraemon even used Momotaro Jiroshi's millet dumplings to tame a group of dinosaurs for us to ride. When we passed by a volcanic lake, that T-Rex showed up again, attacking a herd of sauropods living there. The scattered sauropods sent us running in all directions. After the T-Rex took down one of them, it turned its head toward another target. There was Shizuka, collapsed on the ground, clutching a baby sauropod in her arms. She must have been playing with the baby earlier. Now, seeing the chaos, maybe her kindness made her unwilling to let the little one get eaten. Even as she tried to run, she never let go of the baby dinosaur. Seeing all this, I dashed forward, putting myself between Shizuka and the T-Rex to shield her. The T-Rex, maybe recognizing us from that night, opened its giant jaws at me and Shizuka. Now was my chance. I threw a Momotaro Jiroshi's millet dumplings, one I'd saved earlier, straight into its mouth. The effect was instant, almost like a cheat skill from a fantasy game, making the beast docile and a bit dim-witted. I knew I'd succeeded, not only gaining more of Shizuka's favor, but also setting up a crucial plot point. This dinosaur would become very important later. That's why I made sure to tame it myself. Thank you for saving me, Nobita, Shizuka cried, hugging me tight. Her soft, sweet-smelling body pressed against me. I could feel her warmth and the pounding of her heart. It's nothing, really, I said softly, trying to calm her down after such a scare. After that, Sunio and Jian took turns scolding the T-Rex, though it was too cowed to fight back at all. Soon, with laughter and teasing, we said goodbye to the sauropod herd and moved on with our journey. We traveled through more amazing landscapes, played around, and before we knew it, about a month had passed. Our 5-person team finally reached a place that was known in the story to be dangerous. With our take-copters, we gently flew into a massive canyon. Huge, tall, pillar-like rocks jutted up everywhere. At the top of each pillar were enormous, strange bird nests, filled with bones and gigantic eggs. What kind of bird could make a nest like that? Sunio asked. Puzzled, Doraemon tried to lighten the mood with a joke. If only the birds here were sparrow-sized. But none of us laughed. The tension was too high. Suddenly, a dark swarm of creatures appeared behind us. Doraemon glanced back, then shouted, "Run!" We all spun around, pushing our take-copters to full speed Quetzalcoatlus. Sunio screamed even as we fled. I secretly used my psychic power to knock a few of them out of the sky. We managed to escape a good distance before the flock of Quetzalcoatlus was attacked by someone else. I knew the story's villain was making his move. It was that masked man again. He'd saved us, but we all knew he was up to no good. Once the pterosaurs were driven off, we slowly descended to the ground. The masked man stepped off his flying machine. "We meet again," he said, tipping his cowboy hat. "With a smug grace you actually followed us all the way here," Doraemon said, instantly on guard. "No matter what, I did just save your lives, didn't I? You really ought to greet me with a smile." He grinned. "Of course, what I want is Pie-Isuk," he continued. "Like I told you before, I've seen a lot of dinosaurs, but never one so close to humans." Realization dawned on Doraemon. "I get it now, you're a dinosaur hunter," he said coldly. Doraemon explained, "Dinosaur hunters capture or kill rare Mesozoic animals to sell them for outrageous prices, but it's against time navigation law, because it could change history, disrupt the Earth's environment and evolution. Right now, even humans' ancestors, mammal-like reptiles, are just starting out. If they're all wiped out, we'll disappear too." Doraemon was getting angrier as he spoke. The masked man laughed. "Who knew you were so knowledgeable, raccoon robot?" "I'm not a raccoon robot. I'm a cat-type robot." Doraemon fumed, stomping his feet. There are so many dinosaurs here, even if I killed a couple hundred it'd be nothing," the masked man said, drawing both his pistols and firing at dinosaur bones for show. I stared at this clown in disbelief, showing off with guns in front of me. Nobita Nobi? But no matter how much he tried to threaten us, none of us were willing to hand over Pie-Isuk. Seeing our resolve, the masked man just smiled, then had his men carry over a box full of toys and snacks. He tried to tempt us. Adventuring without adults must be tough. "Here's a little gift from me and, like I said before, I'll pay you handsomely, plus, I'll use my time machine to send you all home." As soon as he said that, I knew things were about to go south. "You'll send us home?" Sunio blurted out. "Discuss it tonight among yourselves," the masked man said, noticing some hesitation. Maybe the villain's IQ dropped, because he even blurted out the location of his base under the river, and invited us to visit. I was speechless. Is this what counts as kids' anime logic? "Hey, you just revealed your own hideout." "I'll visit again tomorrow morning. Hope you'll give it some thought," the masked man said, tipping his hat and taking his leave with that same cocky elegance. Number support with power stones. Number every 400 power stones equals bonus chapter. Chapter 25. Chapter 25. The group separates. I sat by the campfire, listening to my friends argue. As expected, Sunio the coward started his speech. "I don't want to be here anymore. I've had enough of this adventure. If they want Pie-Isuk, let's just give him to them. Then they can send us home," he whined. Shizuka looked worried. "But isn't that too cruel to Pie-Isuk? How can we do that?" As they bickered back and forth, I knew I had to step in before morale completely fell apart. It was time for me to move the story forward. All right, listen to me for a second," I said. Everyone turned to look at me expectantly. "Tell me, do you really think those dinosaur hunters are good people?" I asked pointedly. "Of course not." Even Sunio shook his head, let alone the others. "So we all agree they're not good guys," I continued. "Then why do you believe what they say? Do you honestly think they'll keep their word and take us home? Think about it. These are ruthless poachers who break laws and morals to hunt dinosaurs in the Cretaceous period without a care. They don't give a damn that their actions could wipe out humanity. Can you really trust people like that? They only want Pie-Isuk because he's close to humans. They want his body and his heart to satisfy some rich collector's obsession and fetch a high price. But once they have Pie-Isuk, do you think they'll still respect us like they do now? And if they let us go home, aren't they worried we'll expose them? To them, this is just a game. They're not afraid of us escaping their grasp. We're like ants to their elephant. Would an elephant care about ants? For all we know, they might just kill us to silence us after we hand over Pie-Isuk. They're already criminals. What's a few more crimes to them?" I laid it on thick, trying to scare some sense into them hearing my words. Everyone's faces went pale as the implications sank in. What should we do then? We'll follow your lead, Jian spoke up. Maybe my speech had moved him, or maybe he remembered how I'd saved his life during our adventure. We should stick to the original plan, I said. Go back to Japan, to where my house will be in this era. Use the time machine there to return. It's the safest way. I then outlined the plan using the remote control car toy from the masked man, combined with Doraemon's gadgets, to lure the hunters away. Everyone agreed, even Sunio, who cried as Jian grabbed him by the neck to make him nod. We settled in to rest and prepare for tomorrow's escape attempt, but as I lay there, my mind was racing. I knew we'd likely be caught eventually. This was just buying time, setting the stage for my real plan. The next morning, we put our scheme into action using the remote car as a decoy. We managed to draw the masked man and his goons away. They gleefully chased after it, firing warning shots and playing their sick game of hunting humans. Meanwhile, we headed in the opposite direction on foot. I knew we'd be caught sooner or later, but we had to go through the motions. Sure enough, we didn't get far before their flying machines spotted us. Explosions rocked the ground around us as they fired, shattering rocks and splintering trees, but they were clearly toying with us, not trying to kill. Shizuka fainted from fright. I quickly scooped her up in my arms and used Doraemon's anywhere door to teleport us to a distant cave. When I snuck back to check on the others, I saw they'd been captured but were unharmed. I breathed a sigh of relief. Back in the cave, Shizuka woke up confused and frightened, but seeing me calmed her down. What's happening now? She asked. I explained about the others being captured, trying to reassure her. Don't worry, we still have Pai Isuk, so they won't hurt Doraemon and the rest, and I know where their base is. I'll sneak in tomorrow to rescue them. Shizuka relaxed a bit at that. What should we do now? I smiled and pulled out one of Doraemon's gadgets, the apartment pretend tree, planting it in the ground. I watched it expand into a cozy shelter. Let's rest here tonight. In the morning, we'll save the others, I said confidently as we entered the mini house. I felt Shizuka's soft hand brush against mine. My heart raced at her closeness in the small space, but I pushed those thoughts aside. I had to focus on the rescue plan and on keeping Shizuka safe, no matter what. Chapter 26, Alone. Together, Shizuka's first time, R18. I had just finished dinner and was getting ready for bed when there was a sudden knock at my door. Opening it, I found Shizuka standing there looking shy and nervous, like she wanted to say something. What's wrong, Shizuka? Shouldn't you be resting? Did something happen? I asked. No, I'm just worried and wanted to talk, she said softly. I understood her anxiety. As a young girl, facing such a dangerous situation must be terrifying. I invited her and we sat on the edge of the bed. Shizuka wore a white top and green skirt, her hands fidgeting in her lap. The atmosphere felt tense with just the two of us alone. I broke the silence gently. Tell me what's bothering you, Shizuka. I'm here to listen. She looked up at me with concern in her eyes. Those poachers are so dangerous. Are you really going tomorrow? I smiled reassuringly. We have to rescue our friends. I can't abandon them. But what if something happens to you? Her voice quavered. Don't worry, you saw what I can do. I'll be fine, I said, trying to comfort her. Shizuka suddenly threw her arms around me. Let me come with you. No, it's too dangerous. Wait here for me, I insisted gently. She clung to me tighter, pressing her soft body against mine. The intimate contact made my heart race. I gazed into her clear, sparkling eyes. Memories of our time at the beach flooded back, her sweetness, her softness. I realized this might be my only chance. Slowly, I leaned in and kissed her. To my surprise, Shizuka didn't resist. She kissed me back eagerly as I savored her sweetness. My hands roamed her body, caressing her chest and bottom. When I tried to remove her clothes, she stopped me. We can't. Mom said to wait until marriage, she whispered shyly, her cheeks flushing adorably. I knew I had to convince her. My body was already aching with need, desperate to feel her soft skin against mine. Shizuka, do you love me? I asked softly, reaching out to caress her face. She nodded, leaning into my touch. You know I do. I love you too. We'll get married someday. This is just practice for our wedding night, I coaxed, my thumb tracing her full lower lip. She shivered at my touch, her breath catching. Shizuka hesitated. But I'm facing danger tomorrow. I don't want any regrets. Let me love you one last time, okay? I pleaded, pulling her closer. I could feel the heat of her body through our clothes, driving me wild with desire. Finally relenting, she whispered, Okay, be gentle. My heart pounded as I carefully undressed her, revealing her pure, innocent body. My eyes roamed hungrily over her petite frame, drinking in every curve and soft swell. Her small, perky breasts topped with rosy pink nipples stood proudly on her chest. Her slim waist flared out to gently rounded hips, between which nestled a smooth, hairless mound. You're so beautiful, I breathed. Before capturing her lips in a passionate kiss, I took my time exploring and pleasuring her, wanting to savor every moment. My hands and mouth roamed her body, teasing and caressing until she was writhing and whimpering beneath me. I trailed kisses down her neck to her collarbone, then lower still I lavished attention on her small, perky breasts, circling my tongue around each hardened nipple as she gasped and arched into me. My fingers traced patterns on her inner thighs, inching ever closer to her glistening center. I dipped lower, kissing a trail down her flat stomach. Her legs fell open, inviting me to explore further. I breathed in her intoxicating scent before running my tongue along her slick folds. She cried out in pleasure as I found her sensitive bud, alternating between gentle licks and firm circles. I slipped one finger inside her tight channel, then another, pumping slowly as I continued to work her with my mouth. Her hips bucked against me as I brought her closer and closer to the edge. I could feel her walls beginning to flutter around my fingers. With a keening cry, she came undone, her back arching as waves of pleasure washed over her. I didn't let up until she was trembling and oversensitive. Only then did I kiss my way back up her body to capture her lips once more. I positioned myself between her legs, the tip of my hardness just barely grazing her entrance. Are you ready, Shizuka? I asked tenderly. At her eager nod, I slowly pushed inside, groaning at the exquisite tightness enveloping me. When I finally entered her, Shizuka cried out in pain as my thick, throbbing cock stretched her virgin pussy wide. I kissed away her tears, tasting their saltiness as I whispered words of love. I slowly, gently made love to her for the first time, savoring the exquisite tightness of her untouched cunt gripping every inch of my shaft. I held still inside her tight, virgin heat, giving her time to adjust to the unfamiliar fullness of being completely impaled on my rock-hard member. Are you okay, Shizuka? I murmured, peppering her flushed face with soft kisses. My hands roamed her silky skin, caressing her pert breasts and teasing her hardened nipples. She nodded, her arms wrapping around my neck as her legs spread wider to take me deeper. Why yes, you can move now, she whimpered, her inner walls clenching around me as her pain faded to pleasure. Shizuka's sweet moans filled the room. I was in heaven, completely enraptured by the sight of her writhing beneath me, her back arching as waves of ecstasy washed over her. The wet heat of her untouched pussy gripped me like a vice as I thrust into her, slowly at first, then building to a steady rhythm. My balls slapped against her ass with each deep stroke. Ah! Oh, it feels so good! Shizuka cried out, her hips rising to meet my thrusts. Her fingernails raked down my back as she clung to me, her tight little cunt stretching to accommodate my girth. I could feel her juices coating my shaft, easing the way as I plunged in and out of her heavenly depths. We made love again and again throughout the night, trying different positions. I marveled at how perfectly we fit together. I took her from behind, my hands gripping her slender hips as I pounded into her. She rode me reverse cowgirl, her tight ass bouncing enticingly as she impaled herself on my throbbing cock. With each new position, Shizuka grew bolder, her inhibitions melting away as pleasure consumed her. The sound of skin slapping against skin mingled with our moans and cries of ecstasy. I brought Shizuka to one final, explosive orgasm. She screamed my name as she came, her pussy clenching rhythmically around me and triggering my own release. I buried myself to the hilt inside her, filling her with my hot seed. Afterwards, we cuddled close, exchanging words of love until we drifted off to sleep in each other's arms. Slash 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 number support with power stones. Number every 400 power stones equals bonus chapter. Chapter 27. Chapter 27. Dinosaur adventure comes to an end. I woke up first the next morning, gazing at Shizuka lying on top of me. My hand caressed her soft white back as I admired her beautiful face, flushed with the glow of newly awakened womanhood. I kissed her forehead gently. Wait here for me to return, okay? I whispered. Shizuka must have been exhausted from our passionate night together. She just mumbled mmm in response. As I reached the door, she finally called out, come back soon. After our blissful night, it was time to wrap up this movie storyline. My newfound confidence came not just from courage, but from real power. My psychic abilities had fully developed during our time in the Cretaceous period. I was no longer limited by the training box, I had permanent control over my powers now, with even greater range and precision. I snuck over to the secret base behind the waterfall, but first, I had one task: to grab one of those Time Patrol giant white eyeball surveillance cameras that had placed at the base of the falls. The thundering water plummeted over 50 feet, crashing onto the rocks below in a display of nature's raw power. It really put my own smallness into perspective. I watched as the white eyeball cameras sparked and fizzled as soon as they touched the water. Hey? I thought future tech would be better quality, maybe they cut corners on the budget? Then I realized, the waterfall must have some kind of anti-detection system installed. I'd have to be extra careful. I spotted the remains of many cameras in the pool below pretending to examine a strange object. I pocketed one that looked mostly intact. Then I used my teleportation power to appear inside the cave behind the falls. I set down the camera and hid behind a rock to observe. Soon, a green light flickered in its eye as it whirred to life and began hovering. Reporting in, we have a signal. From one of the cameras came a voice from inside. Perfect, my plan was working. I hurried deeper into the cave. At first it was pitch black, but soon opened up into a massive cavern. In the center stood a steel arena. Suddenly, bright lights flooded the space. They'd spotted me, but that was all part of the plan. I knew someone would have to come investigate the missing people. Eventually an iron elevator descended, carrying the masked man and the guy with Trump-like golden hair. You're quite bold, Nobita, the masked man chuckled. Where are my friends? I asked calmly. He clapped his hands. A large crate marked with the Dinosaur Hunter logo rolled in, its metal sides falling away to reveal a cage. Inside were Doraemon, Jian and Sunio. Doraemon and Jian yelled for me to run, while that idiot Sunio just cried for his mommy. I fought the urge to roll my eyes before this touching reunion. Let's have some fun, the masked man said, snapping his fingers. A panel in the arena slid open and an enormous T-Rex emerged, easily 50 feet tall. I almost laughed out loud. I knew from the original story that they'd bring out a T-Rex, and I recognized this particular dinosaur. It was the one we'd fed Momotaro Jiroshi's millet dumplings to. Back then it may look fierce, but it was actually as docile as a puppy. Now I could barely contain my excitement. I was holding all the cards now. These villains were about to make their final exit, whether they liked it or not. I watched as the T-Rex slowly emerged, its massive jaws and razor-sharp teeth on full display. The enormous beast took slow, thunderous steps towards the iron cage holding Sunio and the others. I kept my cool, observing the situation carefully. Up on the platform, the masked man was still talking. Big, this T-Rex is very hungry, you know. What do you think will happen to your friends if this continues? Now, I have a proposition for Nobita. If you are willing to say yes, this game will end right here, but if you say no, well, your dear friends will end up in the T-Rex's stomach, the masked man declared smugly. Quickly, hand over Pai Isuk to me. Where is Pai Isuk? Surely you don't want your friends to be sacrificed. The masked man seemed to be threatening me. Watching this cliché hostage scene unfold, the blonde boss gloated, this show is absolutely fantastic. From inside the cage, Doraemon and Jian shouted, no, you can't give Pai Isuk to him. As for Sunio, he was still crying for help and calling for his mommy. I looked at this chaotic scene, feeling exasperated. Without hesitation, I replied, Pai Isuk is right here with me. But I'm not going to hand him over to you. I pulled Pai Isuk out of my pocket and waved him around. Just as the villains were getting excited, Doraemon and the others started to panic, but I didn't let the bad guys celebrate for long. I continued, listen to my command, T-Rex. Then, indulging my mischievous side, I imitated a certain Pokemon trainer's signature pose. Pointing one finger at the two villains on the platform, I declared, I choose you, T-Rex. Take care of them. The villains, along with Doraemon and the others, were all stunned. How had the tables turned so quickly? Especially Doraemon and my friends, they were shocked, wondering how the life-threatening monster had suddenly become my loyal companion. Meanwhile, hearing my command, the T-Rex began to charge towards the platform. What's going on? The masked man had lost his cocky attitude and was starting to panic. Doraemon and the others, on the other hand, were now excitedly shouting, attack! Catch them! Don't let a single one escape! The masked man and the blonde boss kept firing their guns, but against the massive T-Rex, it was like tickling it with a feather, not to mention their aim was so bad, they could barely hit the broadside of a barn. As a sharpshooter myself, I couldn't help but scoff at their pathetic attempts. The T-Rex charged straight for the platform, easily flipping it over. Suddenly, green light flooded the arena. White eyeballs appeared in the air above, their green beams all focused on the masked man and the blonde boss. It's the Time Patrol? How did they break through the waterfall's security line? The masked man and blonde boss exclaimed in disbelief. The Time Patrol had arrived. Looks like my earlier preparations had paid off, but even with the platform overturned, these villains still weren't dead. Talk about cockroaches being hard to kill. The blonde boss ran to a wall in the arena and pulled down a control lever from behind another wall. A massive Spinosaurus leapt out, and so began the battle. T-Rex vs Spinosaurus. As the two dinosaurs clashed, Sunio and Jian cheered from the sidelines, but in the midst of their epic battle, something strange happened. The arena suddenly began filling with mud and water. What the hell? Did a flash flood hit? Or was this base just shoddy construction? Is this really the best technology the future has to offer? I couldn't help but wonder. The T-Rex and Spinosaurus fight came to an end when my T-Rex slammed the Spinosaurus into the arena wall with its tail. The wall cracked, letting even more mud pour in. Great job, you oversized lizard. Way to make things worse, I thought sarcastically, seeing the mud pouring in faster now. Doraemon shouted urgently, quick! Follow the Time Patrol. They can use teleportation to get us out of here. But just as we all gathered together, falling rocks from the ceiling smashed all the time white balls. Not a single one survived. I sighed again at the shoddy quality of future tech in this moment of crisis. I quickly commanded the T-Rex to come over. We all climbed onto its head. I had initially thought about using teleportation myself, but then remembered my current self couldn't transport multiple people, let alone a group this size, so I abandoned that idea. Meanwhile, the blonde boss let out a villainous wail, all dinosaurs should belong to me. Then he was swallowed up by the mud. I didn't spare him another thought. The masked man, however, had managed to get into a flying machine and open a time tunnel. He gloated, you can all die here, keep the dinosaurs company. Then, as villains always do, he couldn't resist one last taunt, no matter how many times I fail, I can always start over. I'll travel through time again and come see you after you've turned to fossils. I thought to myself, has this guy always been this confident? Still talking big at a time like this? But before he could finish his speech, huge rocks came crashing down from above. They smashed right into his flying machine, closing the time tunnel entrance. No need to check, he was definitely toast. Finally, these two villains had clocked out for good. I steered the T-Rex towards the exit, using my psychic powers to deflect the falling rocks from above. The T-Rex charged straight through the arena's main gate, landing in the pool in front of the waterfall. We stood atop the T-Rex's head, gazing up at the blue sky and white clouds. Thinking back on the dark battles we'd just fought in the arena, I felt a sense of freedom, like Andy escaping in the Shawshank Redemption. Outside, Time Patrol patrol ships filled the mountains and valleys. I couldn't help but think, no matter what story it is, the police always show up last to clean things up. The Time Patrol greeted us and expressed their thanks. Then, while excavating the crime scene, somehow they managed to dig up the blonde boss and masked man. Seriously, do characters in these shows always have such thick plot armor? Still, now that they were in Time Patrol custody, they were pretty much done for. No more trouble from them. Suddenly, I remembered, Shizuka was still lying in that apartment pretend tree outside. I quickly went to bring her back, but because of our intimate activities last night, Shizuka was having trouble walking, so I wasn't stupid enough to refuse the Time Patrol's help like in the original story, where we walked all the way back to Japan before using the time machine. That would have been way too dumb. I had wanted to sweet talk Shizuka a bit, deepen our relationship, but she turned out to be really shy in front of others, not even letting me hold her hand. Later, I asked the Time Patrol to take us to Cretaceous Japan first so we could release Pai-Isuk. As soon as that little guy saw his own kind, he scampered off without a second glance, not a hint of reluctance towards his caretaker. Damn, what a fickle creature. Abandoned again, there really is no love in this world. Feeling dejected, I asked the Time Patrol to open a time tunnel and send us all home. Just as the time tunnel opened, I could have sworn I saw Pai Isuk give me one last longing look, but maybe it was just my imagination. As the time tunnel closed, my dinosaur adventure finally came to an end. Slash 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 number support with power stones. Number every 400 power stones equals bonus chapter. Chapter 28, Chapter 28, Return, R18. I find myself traveling through the time tunnel once again, surrounded by clocks as we prepare to go home. Everyone's spirits lift, including mine. After adventuring in the Cretaceous period for so long, I'm looking forward to seeing Mom again. Mischievous thoughts run through my mind about playing with Mom when I get back. Finally, our time patrol ship exits the dark tunnel, arriving at the empty lot where we often hang out. Take care, the time patrol officer says with a salute before vanishing. All right everyone, let's head home, Doraemon says cheerfully. Sunio and Jian rush off first to see their mothers. Shizuka lingers shyly for a moment. Nobita, make sure to come play at my house sometime, she says before hurrying home, walking a bit oddly. It reminds me of our first time at the apartment Pretend Tree. The taste of a loli really is something else. Hehe Nobita, what are you spacing out for? Let's go. Doraemon pokes me, snapping me out of my daydream. Right. I reply, okay Doraemon, let's head home. Reflecting on our recent adventures, we've been through a lot together. We share a knowing smile as we start walking. At home, I'm filled with emotion seeing our house again after so long. With Doraemon beside me and Mom inside, I finally have a real home and family in this world. Mom, I'm home, I call out as I enter. Welcome back, but why so loud? Mom scolds. I suddenly rush forward and hug her tightly. She's startled, whispering, Doraemon is right here, what are you trying to do? Embracing her soft body, I say longingly, I missed you. Hearing the emotion in my voice, Mom softens. All right, once Doraemon isn't around, we can play however you want. She probably thinks I'm pent up from avoiding her lately. If only she knew I've been gone for months. Excited by this unexpected treat, I quickly say, you promised, no taking it back. Mom rolls her eyes at me. Okay Nobita, you can let go of Mom now, Doraemon interjects. Seeing our prolonged reunion, Mom smiles, understanding Doraemon's meaning. Doraemon must be hungry. I bought some dorayaki for tonight. Hooray, Mom is the best. Doraemon cheers, dancing happily. Mom and I can't help but laugh at the sight. I realize Doraemon hasn't had dorayaki in months either. After our long journey that evening, Doraemon devours an entire bucket of dorayaki at dinner. He becomes comically round like a ball, just like in the anime. It's pretty amazing how that works. The next day, I watch Doraemon excitedly run off to see his cat friend Mi-chan from the next street over. I'm filled with anticipation. I set up a satellite to track Doraemon's location and alert me when he heads home. With preparations complete, I eagerly rush to the kitchen to find Mom, my body thrumming with pent-up desire. She's standing at the counter, her back to me as she chops vegetables for lunch. I pause in the doorway, drinking in the sight of her curved figure hugged by a tight sundress. The thin fabric clings to her full breasts and round ass, leaving little to the imagination. My cock twitches in my pants as I imagine peeling that dress off her, revealing the soft, creamy skin underneath. Hey sweetie, she says, glancing over her shoulder with a warm smile. What's up? Unable to contain myself any longer, I cross the room in 3 quick strides. Mom gasps as I press against her back, my hands sliding around her waist. She can surely feel my hardness pushing insistently against her ass. I need you, I growl, nipping at her ear. Right now. She shivers, dropping the knife with a clatter. But Doraemon could be home any minute. I don't care, I murmur, already hiking up her skirt. I've been thinking about this all night, Mom moans as I slip my fingers between her thighs, finding her already wet and ready. Her pussy is hot and slick against my probing digits. I rub slow circles around her clit, feeling it swell beneath my touch. Oh God, she whimpers, spreading her legs wider. We shouldn't, but her body betrays her words as she grinds back against me. I grin, knowing I've won with my free hand. I roughly knead one of her heavy breasts through her dress. Mom cries out when I pinch her nipple, the sensitive bud hardening instantly. You want this as bad as I do? I whisper hotly in her ear, don't deny it. She doesn't answer, just pushes her ass back more insistently, taking that as enthusiastic consent. I quickly undo my pants and free my aching cock. It springs out, rock hard and leaking pre-cum already. I rub the swollen head along mom's dripping slit, coating myself in her juices. She whines impatiently, trying to impale herself on me, but I hold back, savoring the moment. Beg for it, I command, my voice rough with lust. Mom hesitates for just a second before giving in completely. Please, she moans, please, baby, I need you inside me so bad. That's all I needed to hear. With one hard thrust, I bury myself to the hilt in mom's hot, tight pussy. We both cry out at the intense sensation. Her velvety walls clench around me, drawing me in deeper. Oh, I groan, you feel so good, Mom. I start moving, fucking her with long, deep strokes. Mom braces herself against the counter, pushing back to meet each thrust. The wet sounds of our coupling fill the kitchen, punctuated by our breathless moans. I reach around to rub mom's clit as I pound into her. She cries out, her inner muscles fluttering around my cock. That's it, I encourage, come for me. I want to feel you come on my dick. My words push her over the edge. Mom's whole body tenses as she climaxes, waves of pleasure racking her frame. The rhythmic clenching of her pussy triggers my own orgasm with a guttural groan. I bury myself deep and flood her womb with my hot seed. We stay like that for a long moment, both panting and trembling in the aftermath. Finally, I slowly pull out, watching in fascination as a trickle of my cum leaks from mom's well-fucked hole. She turns to face me, cheeks flushed and eyes bright. That was very naughty of you, she purrs, reaching down to stroke my softening cock. I think you need to be punished later. I grin, already looking forward for more, but for now, I head back to my room to monitor Doraemon's tracker. I want to be ready when he returns, after all. As I settle in front of my computer, I can't help replaying the kitchen scene in my mind. The way mom's tits bounced as I fucked her from behind, the sweet, musky scent of her arousal, the incredible tightness of her pussy squeezing my cock. It's enough to get me hard again already. I idly stroke myself as I watch the blinking dot that represents Doraemon's location. He seems to be having fun with me-chan, darting all over the neighborhood. Good, the longer he's gone, the more time I have to play with Mom. Speaking of which, I hear her footsteps in the hallway. My bedroom door creaks open and she slips inside, now wearing only a flimsy robe. Her nipples poke against the thin fabric, making my mouth water. Ready for your punishment? Mom asks with a wicked smile. I lean back in my chair, spreading my legs to display my erection. Absolutely, Mom. What did you have in mind? Mom slinks towards me, letting her robe fall open. My eyes roam hungrily over her naked body, full, heavy breasts tipped with rosy nipples, the gentle curve of her stomach, the neatly trimmed patch of hair between her thighs. First, she purrs, dropping to her knees, I'm going to suck this until you're begging to come. I groan as she takes me into her hot, wet mouth. Mom's an expert at giving head, using just the right combination of suction, tongue, and hand. I thread my fingers through her hair, guiding her movements as she bobs up and down my shaft. That feels amazing, I pant. Mom hums in acknowledgement, the vibrations sending shivers of pleasure through me. She takes me deeper, relaxing her throat to swallow my entire length. The sight of her lips stretched around the base of my cock is incredibly erotic. Just when I think I can't take any more, Mom pulls off with a wet pop. She grins up at me, stroking my spit-slick shaft. Not yet, baby, I want you nice and worked up for what comes next. She stands and straddles my lap, positioning herself over my throbbing erection with agonizing slowness. Mom sinks down onto me. I clutch at her hips, fighting the urge to thrust up into her tight heat. That's it, she coos. Feel how wet I am for you? You turn me on so much, sweetie. Once I'm fully sheathed inside her, Mom starts to move. She rides me with practiced skill, grinding her hips in a way that hits all the right spots. I suck and nibble at her bouncing tits, reveling in her breathy moans. Touch yourself, I command. I want to watch you come. Mom obeys, her fingers finding her clit. She rubs quick circles over the sensitive nub as she continues to bounce on my cock. It doesn't take long before she's crying out in ecstasy, her pussy clenching rhythmically around me. The added stimulation is too much. With a hoarse shout, I explode inside her, pumping her full of my hot cum. We cling to each other as the aftershocks roll through us, trading lazy kisses. Finally, Mom climbs off me on shaky legs. I hope you learned your lesson, she teases. I laugh, pulling her in for another deep kiss. Oh, I definitely did, although I might need a refresher course later. Chapter 29, Chapter 29, Uncle, rest assured, I'll take care of your wife and daughter. Bonus: after thoroughly tasting Mom, I returned to my daily routine, practicing swordsmanship, honing my psychic abilities, and going to school. My sword skills were getting pretty decent. I could execute the basic forms smoothly, but in a real fight I'd probably still just hack away wildly like some action movie. Thug theory's one thing, but without actual combat experience, who knows how I'd really do. My psychic powers were coming along nicely, though. I could now use telekinesis up to 5 to 6 meters away, teleport 3 to 4 meters, and see through walls for 3 to 4 meters. I could maintain these abilities indefinitely now. Even without the training device, using them still drained me mentally, though I wondered if being a transmigrator was the reason I picked them up so quickly. Seems like a cliché trope. The Ice Guy protagonist always has amazing mental powers. We can't all be spiritual prodigies, can we? Anyway, I kept up with my training regimen at school. I'd flirt with Shizuka sometimes. I'd collect royalties from my manga and work on expanding my little company. Life was pretty sweet, but then everything changed. It wasn't my family this time. It was Shizuka's. When I heard the news, I was stunned. What? Shizuka's dad was hit by a car. I gaped at my mom in disbelief. She nodded grimly. That's what the neighbors are saying. Apparently there was a lot of blood. He was conscious at first, but by the time they got him to the operating room, he suddenly started coughing up blood. The doctors found that all his internal organs were ruptured. They tried to save him for days, but in the end she trailed off, then continued. Ms. Minamoto kept it quiet for a while, but once the hospital bills started coming in, she couldn't hide it anymore. That's how everyone found out. It suddenly made sense why Shizuka had been complaining about her mom being out all the time lately. This explained everything. I called Doraemon and we rushed over to Shizuka's house. When we arrived, it was packed with people, neighbors, relatives, friends, classmates, just like when it happened to my family, except I'd been laid up in bed back then. I pushed through the crowd and found Ms. Minamoto greeting guests. She looked exhausted, the stress of the past few days clearly taking its toll, but she was still maintaining her composure, trying to keep up appearances for the family's sake. I approached her and said gently, "Auntie, how are you holding up? I hope you're taking care of yourself. No matter what happens to the Minamoto family, as long as you and Shizuka are okay, there's still hope for the future." She seemed taken aback, like I was the first person to actually ask how she was doing. Everyone else had just offered condolences about Mr. Minamoto. A warm smile briefly crossed her face. "Nobita, you're here to see Shizuka, aren't you? She's in her room. This has been so hard on her. I hope you can comfort her." I nodded. "Of course, I'll do my best." As I turned to go, I added, "Auntie, if you need anything at all, please let me know. I'll help however I can." She just smiled and shook her head, probably thinking there wasn't much a kid like me could do. If only she knew. I headed to Shizuka's room and found her crying her eyes out. As soon as she saw me, she flung herself into my arms. I held her close as she sobbed into my chest. I didn't try to tell her it would be okay or to cheer up. That would have been stupid. Instead, I just rubbed her back gently and said, "It's all right, let it all out. Cry as much as you need to." After a while, I added softly, "I'm here for you, Shizuka. I promise I'll do everything I can to help you through this." She gradually calmed down in my embrace. As exhaustion took over, she started to drift off, but before sleep claimed her, she whispered, "Nobita, can I really depend on you?" I hugged her tighter. "Absolutely, I swear I'll take care of you." "Thank you," she murmured as she finally fell asleep. A few days later, the funeral was held. It was eerily similar to my family's, with only the photo and ashes being different. As I stared at Mr. Minamoto's picture on the altar, my mind started to wander. History had changed. How was that possible? Was it because of the future diary? Or maybe it was because I'd been paranoid and given Doraemon a bunch of money to buy that other gadget, the Li 800? For some reason, modern money worked in the future. In Doraemon's world, after drinking the Li 800, I'd repeated what I'd written in the diary originally. Could that have caused this effect? But when I'd asked Doraemon if we could use the time machine to bring someone back to life, he'd adamantly said it was impossible. If it were possible, he would have used it to fix his own ears that were chewed off by mice. I didn't argue, but I wondered, maybe it wasn't impossible for everyone, just for most people. Maybe only I could do it. as the one chosen by history or whatever, but did I really want to change things? Looking at the photo on the grave, I felt my heart darken once again, though maybe it had already turned black after what happened with my mom. I gazed at the two beautiful mourners, Shizuka and her mother, then turned back to Mr. Minamoto's grave. "Don't worry, uncle," I said quietly, "I'll take good care of them from now on." My voice was soft, but my eyes glinted with determination and something else, something that would have made Shizuka shudder if she'd seen it, but she didn't see. She was lost in her grief, unaware of the boy beside her whose innocent crush was rapidly evolving into possessive obsession. I smiled to myself. Everything was going according to plan. Number support with power stones. Number every 400 power stones equals bonus chapter. Chapter 30, helping Shizuka's family pay off their debt after the funeral. I was worried about Shizuka and her mom, so I followed them back to their house to comfort them some more. They were really touched by my concern. A few days passed, and I thought things were getting back to normal, but then one day, Shizuka suddenly came running to my house in a panic. "What's wrong? What happened?" I asked urgently, seeing how out of breath and upset she looked. "Mom, there are a bunch of people at our house demanding we pay them money. They won't leave." Shizuka was on the verge of tears. "Okay, let's go right now." I grabbed Shizuka's hand and we ran to her house, not even stopping to tell Doraemon I couldn't help worrying. Those debt collectors on TV are always so vicious. What if something happened to Shizuka's mom? When we arrived, my fears were confirmed. A group of thugs in ill-fitting suits were standing menacingly at the door. They may have been wearing suits, but they were clearly just putting on a thin veneer of civility. I could tell they'd show their true colors at the slightest provocation. This was the real face of organized crime. Most of them had rolled up their sleeves, revealing arms covered in tattoos. Some were wielding iron bars, which they'd used to smash up Shizuka's beloved flower garden. Pero, their dog, was barking furiously as if trying to chase the men away, but he was tied up and couldn't reach them. After causing enough damage to intimidate the residents, the leader finally spoke. "Well, ma'am, have you thought it over? We don't want to do this, but you're the one who owes us money. We're just doing our job. You signed the contract yourself, remember? We have it right here, but we don't have any money left," Shizuka's mom said weakly from the doorway, looking pale and nothing like her usual elegant self. "No money? That's easy to fix. You've still got this house, don't you? Tokyo property values are decent. If you sell, you should be able to cover it otherwise." He grinned menacingly. "Well, I'm sure you don't want that, Mrs. Geez, what kind of cliché villain dialogue is this? I thought with exasperation that you don't want that. Line is my job." But at least I'd arrived in time. I breathed a sigh of relief. These guys seemed to be professionals whose main goal was getting paid. They probably wouldn't actually hurt anyone yet, since that would make it harder to collect, but who knows what they might do if this dragged on too long? Frowning at the crowd blocking the door, I used my psychic powers to push them aside and clear a path. "Wait." I called out to the leader. I led Shizuka over to her mom. Seeing how pale her mother looked, Shizuka rushed to support her. "Mom, are you okay?" I'm fine," her mom insisted, but then she scolded, "Why did you bring Nobita here? It's dangerous. You kids shouldn't get involved. I can handle this." She started to say more, but I wasn't listening. I stood protectively in front of them and addressed the lead debt collector. "I'll pay their debt. Is that acceptable?" One of his underlings started to object, but the leader silenced him. He'd seen me use my powers earlier and realized I wasn't an ordinary kid. As a professional, he didn't really care about the details. He just wanted to get paid and complete the job. "You can cover the full amount?" he asked. "I can. How much is it?" I replied seriously. He gestured to an underling, who brought over a stack of documents. "This is the loan contract. Please review it. The total owed is 50 million yen. Will that be cash or credit?" 50 million yen. That's over $800,000. How did Shizuka's mom borrow so much? Is healthcare really that expensive here? Mr. Yoshio wasn't in the hospital for that long. But even though I was confused, I knew I had to pay it off. Debts have to be repaid, after all. Credit card, I said, Wondering if they'd even be able to process it very well, the leader waved, and an underling quickly produced a card reader. I swiped my card, seeing the transaction go through. The debt collector visibly relaxed with his job complete. He became much more cordial. "Please keep your receipt," he said, handing me a slip of paper. "What the hell? They give receipts for this?" I thought incredulously. "This is their loan contract. If you sign here, the debt will be transferred to your name." I had considered just burning it, but then I realized this wasn't some ancient IOU that would disappear if destroyed, and with the debt in my name now, it was basically the same as if Shizuka's family didn't owe anything, so I signed my name. "All right, sir. Our task is complete. We hope you're satisfied with our services. If you need money in the future, please come to us, and if you ever need debt collection services yourself, we handle that too." With that, the leader waved his hand and they all piled into a waiting van and drove off. Damn, the local Yakuza are pretty polite. Good customer service too, and no cliché confrontation scene like in novels. They just left peacefully. But I wasn't going to complain about things going smoothly. I turned around to find only Shizuka's mom still there. She must have sent Shizuka inside earlier in case things went badly. "Nobita, you," she stared at me, her expression a mix of shock and other complicated emotions. "It's okay now, Auntie," I smiled at the beautiful older woman, whose face was still a bit pale but whose mature charm remained intact. She started to say something, but just then Shizuka came running out and threw her arms around both of us. "Mom! Nobita! Are you all right?" Her voice was thick with unshed tears, but she must have hugged us too forcefully, because her mom stumbled and fell against me. So while it looked like Shizuka was embracing us both, I was actually the one holding them. Shizuka's mom didn't protest, though a hint of color returned to her pale cheeks. I savored the feeling of these two beautiful women in my arms, one youthful and vibrant, the other elegant and mature. Their soft bodies were completely in my control. What if my mind began to wander to some very interesting possibilities? Slash 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 slash. Number support with power stones. Number every 400 power stones equals bonus chapter. Chapter 31. Chapter 31, Eating Michiko Minamoto. R18. After resolving the debt issue at Shizuka's home, I comforted her as we walked inside, my arms around both her and her mother. When the door closed, the sound startled Shizuka's mom awake. She realized she was nestled in my warm embrace and quickly pulled away like a shy rabbit. A fleeting look of reluctance seemed to cross her flushed face. Shizuka didn't seem to notice anything amiss and continued expressing her concerns to me. I kept reassuring her, and after a while I was planning to head home, but then Shizuka's mom called out, "Nobita, why don't you stay for dinner? To thank you for your help today." Seeing her blushing face, I had a feeling tonight might get interesting, so I agreed and called home to let Mom and Doraemon know I'd be eating at Shizuka's. We sat down to eat, but Shizuka was emotionally exhausted from the day's events and went to rest in her room. That left just me and her mom in the living room. An awkward silence fell between us. Suddenly, Shizuka's mom spoke up, her voice trembling slightly. "Nobita, shall we have a drink together?" "Sure," I replied without hesitation. My heart raced with anticipation of what might happen next. She retrieved an old bottle of red wine from the cabinet and poured us each a glass. After downing hers quickly, she seemed to loosen up. "Thank you again for earlier today," she said. "It was nothing, Auntie. I was happy to help. Shizuka is my friend after all," I replied casually. "You don't know how difficult things have been," she continued, pouring herself another glass. I listened quietly as she opened up. "After Shizuka's father passed away, I didn't know how I'd manage. I was too afraid to tell Shizuka the truth, worried she might do something rash if she knew. Today I was prepared to give up the house to those men, even though I'd already mortgaged it and put the money in a fund for Shizuka's future. I felt so hopeless. I knew what they might do to a lone woman who couldn't pay. Her voice broke as she continued drinking and pouring out her heart. Soon she was in tears. I'd never seen an adult cry like this before. Despite her tears, she still looked so elegant and beautiful it made my heart ache. Without thinking, I gently patted her back and drew her into my arms. As I held her soft, warm body close, she whispered, "Thank you, Nobita." Then she seemed to realize our position but made no move to pull away. If anything, she nestled in closer, Savoring the comfort. I could tell her thoughts were drifting as she relaxed against me. Maybe she was remembering how I'd swooped in earlier to save the day. I hoped she was noticing how much more handsome I looked without my old glasses. You've been through so much, Auntie, I murmured, stroking her hair. But don't worry, I'm here for you now. I'll take care of everything. She gazed up at me with glistening eyes, her face flushed. I couldn't help but notice her feminine curves pressed against me. My teenage hormones were going wild. "Nobita, you like me?" she asked in a small voice, her eyes searching mine with a mixture of hope and vulnerability. I was stunned. Was this really happening? My heart raced as I gazed at the beautiful woman before me, Michiko Minamoto, my future wife's mom, the woman I'd secretly desired for so long. Her soft curves, her gentle smile, the way her eyes sparkled when she laughed. I'd been captivated by her for years before I could respond. She quickly added, "I just don't know how else to repay your kindness. If you're not interested in an old woman like me, that's okay." I couldn't bear to hear her doubt herself for another moment. Without thinking, I pulled her into a tight embrace, feeling her soft body press against mine. The scent of her perfume filled my senses, intoxicating me. "Auntie, how could I not like you?" I whispered fiercely. "You're such an amazing, responsible mother, and you're so beautiful too. I can't think of a single reason not to like you." I felt her tremble in my arms as she breathed, "Oh Nobita, do you really see me that way?" Suddenly, her lips were on mine in a passionate kiss. I was shocked for a split second before eagerness took over. I returned her affections with equal fervor, savoring her sweet taste as we tumbled onto the tatami mats. Her lips were so soft, her tongue teasing mine as we explored each other's mouths. My hands roamed her body, tracing the curves I'd only dreamed of touching before she moaned into the kiss, arching against me. I could feel the heat of her body through our clothes, driving me wild with desire. "Nobita," she gasped as we broke apart for air, "if you really want it, please make love to me." I didn't need to be asked twice. My fingers fumbled with the buttons of her blouse, revealing inch after tantalizing inch of creamy skin. She shrugged the garment off, leaving her in a lacy black bra that made my mouth water. "You're so beautiful," I breathed, drinking in the sight of her. She blushed prettily, reaching for the hem of my shirt. "Let me see you too, Nobita." We undressed each other slowly, savoring every moment of discovery. When we were finally bare before each other, I took a moment to marvel at her naked form. Her breasts were full and round, topped with rosy nipples that begged for attention. The curve of her hips was mesmerizing, leading down to shapely legs that seemed to go on forever. "You're staring," she said with a coy smile. "How could I not?" I replied, leaning in to kiss her again. This time, there was no hesitation. Our bodies pressed together, skin on skin. As our hands explored eagerly, I trailed kisses down her neck, relishing the little gasps and moans she made when I took one perfect nipple into my mouth. She cried out in pleasure, her fingers tangling in my hair. "Oh Nobita, that feels so good," she whimpered as I lavished attention on her breasts. I worshipped her body with my hands and mouth, determined to make her feel incredible. My lips traced a path down her stomach, pausing to dip my tongue into her navel. She squirmed beneath me, her breathing growing ragged with anticipation. When I finally reached the junction of her thighs, I looked up to meet her eyes. They were dark with desire, silently urging me on. I inhaled deeply, intoxicated by her scent. Before diving in to taste her, "Ah!" she cried out as my tongue found her most sensitive spots. Her thighs trembled on either side of my head as I explored her folds, circling her clit before dipping inside. She tasted divine, sweet and tangy and utterly addictive. I lost myself in pleasuring her, driven by her gasps and moans of ecstasy. Her hips rocked against my face as I built her towards climax. When I sucked her clit between my lips, flicking it with my tongue, she came apart with a keening cry. "Nobita! Oh God, Nobita!" she wailed as waves of pleasure crashed over her. I held her hips steady, lapping up her release as she shuddered through her orgasm. Only when the last tremors subsided did I pull away, kissing my way back up her body. "That was incredible," she panted, pulling me in for a deep kiss. I groaned as she tasted herself on my lips, my arousal reaching fever pitch. "Please," I begged. "I need you." She smiled wickedly, pushing me onto my back. "Let me take care of you now, Nobita." I watched in awe as she straddled my hips, taking me in hand. The feeling of her fingers wrapped around my length was exquisite torture. Slowly, so slowly, she lowered herself onto me. We both moaned as I slid inside her tight, wet heat. It was better than I ever could have imagined. She felt like paradise, hot and silky and perfect. "Oh God, I groaned as she began to move. You feel amazing. She braced her hands on my chest, riding me with slow, deliberate motions. I was mesmerized by the sight of her above me. Her breasts bouncing enticingly, her face flushed with pleasure. My hands found her hips, guiding her movements as we found a rhythm together. Faster, I pleaded after a while. Please, I need more, she obliged, picking up the pace. The room filled with the sounds of our love-making, skin slapping against skin, breathless moans and gasps of pleasure. I thrust up to meet her, driving myself deeper with each stroke. When I felt my climax approaching, I slipped a hand between us to rub her clit. She cried out, her inner muscles clenching around me deliciously. Yes. Oh Nobita, don't stop, she wailed. I redoubled my efforts, determined to make her come again. Her movements grew frantic as she chased her release. When she finally tumbled over the edge, it was with a scream of ecstasy. The feeling of her pulsing around me was too much to bear. With a hoarse cry of my own, I exploded inside her. Pleasure unlike anything I'd ever known coursed through me as I emptied myself into her welcoming body. We clung to each other, shaking and gasping as we rode out the intense sensations together. As the aftershocks faded, she collapsed onto my chest. I wrapped my arms around her, holding her close as our breathing slowly returned to normal. We lay like that for a long while, basking in the afterglow of our passion. Thank you, Nobita, she finally whispered, pressing a soft kiss to my neck. You've made me feel alive again. I tilted her chin up, kissing her tenderly. I'm glad, Auntie, you deserve all the happiness in the world. We made love several more times that night, exploring each other's bodies with eager hands and mouths. I marveled at her responsiveness, the way she gasped and moaned at my touch. Every inch of her was a wonderland to be discovered. We tried different positions, finding what worked best for both of us. I loved taking her from behind, watching her back arch as I thrust deep inside her. She seemed to enjoy being on top, setting the pace as she rode me to mutual bliss. But my favorite was when I laid her on her back, her legs wrapped around my waist as I made love to her face to face. I could lose myself in her eyes, seeing the pleasure and affection reflected there. It was in those moments that I truly felt connected to her, body and soul. As dawn approached, we lay tangled in each other's arms, thoroughly sated. My fingers traced lazy patterns on her skin as she nuzzled against my chest. What happens now? I asked softly, not wanting to break the peaceful moment but needing to know where we stood. She propped herself up on an elbow, gazing at me with a mix of fondness and uncertainty. I'm not sure, Nobita, this complicates things, doesn't it? I nodded, understanding her concerns. There was Shizuka to consider, and the rest of our families and friends, but I knew in my heart that I didn't want this to be just a one-time thing. It does, I agreed, but I don't regret a single moment. I care about you so much, Auntie. I want to be there for you, to take care of you and Shizuka if you'll let me. Her eyes welled up with tears, but she was smiling. Oh Nobita, you're such a wonderful young man. I care about you too, more than I probably should. But are you sure this is what you want? I'm so much older, and there's so much you haven't experienced yet. I silenced her doubts with a kiss. I'm sure age is just a number. You make me happier than anyone else ever has. I want to see where this leads, if you're willing. She searched my face for a long moment before nodding. Okay, we'll take things slow, figure it out as we go, but I want to try to. Joy bloomed in my chest. I pulled her close, kissing her deeply as we drifted off to sleep. I wondered what the future might hold for us now. But I knew one thing for sure, I would always be there to take care of her and Shizuka, no matter what. Number support with power stones. Number every 400 power stones equals bonus chapter. Chapter 32. Chapter 32. Your mom is really amazing. As the first rays of sunlight touched the earth, I slowly awakened in Shizuka's living room. The place was a mess, evidence of last night's passionate encounter. I'd grown accustomed to rising early, so I was the first to open my eyes. Shizuka's mom was still sprawled across my chest, her voluptuous body pressing against mine in all the right places. As I gazed at her exquisite, dignified face, I couldn't help but marvel at how wild and sexy she'd been last night. Who knew such an elegant, proper lady could be such an insatiable vixen? I couldn't resist running my fingers through her silky hair and caressing her smooth, pale back. The memories of our lovemaking sent tingles through my body, my cock already starting to stiffen. Shizuka's mom stirred slightly, nuzzling against me like a kitten. I could tell she was awake but feeling shy. Her heart was racing against my chest, her nipples hardening as they brushed against my skin. Feeling mischievous, I gave her ass a playful squeeze, kneading the soft flesh. Her eyes flew open as she gasped, "Nobita, you naughty boy." I grinned, my hand still firmly on her ass. "Good morning, Auntie, how was last night for you?" Her face turned bright red at my teasing, but I could feel her pressing her hips against mine, seeking more contact. After a moment of charged silence, she spoke softly, "Nobita, we should stop this here, let's just pretend it was a dream." But even as she said it, her hand was trailing down my chest, fingertips tracing my absy. I asked, my voice husky with desire. I captured her wandering hand and guided it lower, letting her feel how hard I was for her. "I'm Shizuka's mother, this can never work between us. It was a mistake," she said sadly, but her fingers were already wrapping around my throbbing cock. "No, I don't agree," I said firmly, pulling her close and grinding against her. "Auntie, now that this has happened, I'll take full responsibility. I'm greedy, I won't let you go. Now that we've been intimate, I'll be the bad guy if I have to." For some reason, my bold words seemed to make me even more irresistible to her. "Oh Nobita, I'm not worth all that," she murmured against my chest, but her hand was stroking me faster now, her thumb circling the sensitive head. "You are worth it, Auntie," I insisted, my hands roaming her body freely. "You've always been so kind to me. I've had a crush on you for ages. You're beautiful, sexy, and keep your home running smoothly. I don't want to let an amazing woman like you slip away." As I spoke, I slipped a hand between her thighs, finding her already wet and ready. "Nobita," she exclaimed, staring at me in surprise and lust as I slowly pushed 2 fingers inside her. "So will you be with me, Auntie?" "I promise I'll take good care of you," I said gently, curling my fingers to hit that special spot inside her. She moaned, her hips bucking against my hand. She sighed, her inner walls clenching around my fingers. "Oh, you sweet boy, you always know just what to say, and do, to melt a woman's heart." My face lit up. "So is that a yes?" I asked, increasing the pace of my fingers. You'd better look after Shizuka and me properly from now on," she replied with a sultry smile, her hand pumping my cock faster. I was confused about why she mentioned Shizuka, until she leaned in close and whispered, "I know you've already had your way with my daughter too." I froze. "Auntie, a mother knows these things about her daughter," she said with a wink. Then she added coyly, "If you can get Shizuka to agree, I'd be open to all 3 of us together. You know I've always wanted to teach my little girl a few tricks." Holy shit, just hearing those words made my cock throb painfully. Shizuka's mom laughed and warned me to calm down before her daughter woke up, but instead of stopping, she slid down my body, taking my aching shaft into her warm, wet mouth. I groaned as she began to suck me off, her skilled tongue swirling around the head before she took me deep into her throat. My hands tangled in her hair as I fought the urge to thrust up into her mouth. She hummed around my cock, the vibrations sending waves of pleasure through me. Just as I was about to lose control, we heard movement from Shizuka's room. Her mom quickly pulled away, leaving me achingly hard and desperate for release. She winked at me before calling out, "Shizuka, honey? Are you up?" When Shizuka finally emerged, she was surprised to see me there so early. Her mom smoothly covered for me, saying she'd let me stay over since it got late. Still groggy, Shizuka didn't question it further, though her eyes widened slightly when she saw the state of disarray in the living room. As I was leaving, I couldn't resist telling Shizuka, "Your mom is really amazing." She beamed with pride, not catching my meaning. I walked home, savoring the delicious memories of the night before and imagining the possibilities to come. My cock was still hard, aching for release. I couldn't wait to see what would happen next with Shizuka and her sexy mom. Chapter 33, Chapter 33, Urashima Candy. I've noticed my mindset slowly changing after these recent intimate encounters. Have I become evil? Not exactly, it's more like I'm following my true desires more freely now. I feel like I've become someone who just wants to have fun and do whatever makes me happy. That strong urge to strictly follow traditional morals has faded. It's like I've broken down the moral barriers between my past and present lives, but I still consider myself a good person after all. If someone else had Doraemon, they'd probably turn into some kind of supervillain, using his gadgets for destruction. All I want is a little harem and some sexy fun. That's not so bad, right? I'm not sure if it's because of developing my psychic abilities, but my body seems to have gotten stronger too, otherwise, that auntie wouldn't have enjoyed our encounter so much. My mind has definitely changed as well. I feel a stronger desire to do as I please. Maybe this is what they called enlightenment? But is my true nature really just about having sex? I seem to crave complex relationships with more and more women, but I'm nobita. I'm supposed to be a proper guy. Then again, what proper guy writes his innermost thoughts in a future diary? The truth is, I don't dislike this new situation. Understanding myself better actually makes me feel more at ease. I plan to keep practicing my psychic abilities. After all, they seem to have a slight kidney strengthening effect too in my mind. Strengthening my body equals strengthening my kidneys, so I'm even more motivated to train hard. But my peaceful days were about to see some excitement. One day, Doraemon suddenly poked his big blue head out of my desk drawer, then crept out with an excited look on his face. Nobita, I'm back from the future, he said. Guess what awesome thing I bought this time? He had a mischievous grin. Ever since I started sharing my earnings with Doraemon, he's had money to not just buy dorayaki, but also gadgets from the future department store like he used to, though he's still frugal, saying people who don't know how to save will eventually lose all their money, so he still shops the sales. At least now he can buy gadgets outright instead of having to pay them off in installments like before. I'm not guessing, I said, exasperated. You're no fun anymore, Nobita. Doraemon pouted. He reached into his 4D pocket and pulled out an ornate black box with brass rings on the sides, tied with a red ribbon. Tada! Urashima candy! Doraemon announced proudly. It's a new product at the future department store. I only got it because I'm a VIP customer now after spending so much lately, and it was 10% off. He looked so pleased with himself. Before I could respond, Doraemon launched into an explanation. If you eat this Urashima candy, as long as you do good deeds for others, they'll be sure to feel grateful and reward you, just like in the story of Urashima Taro. Remember how he saved a turtle and it took him to an underwater palace to thank him with feasts and entertainment? Isn't this gadget great? Doraemon boasted. But I don't really need something like that right now, I pointed out. Doraemon's round face fell, but he had to admit I was right. Now that we had money, I could pretty much get whatever I wanted. Still, he stubbornly insisted, this is how kids in the future make friends. Being appreciated by others makes it way easier to befriend them. Who knows, you might even get a pretty girlfriend out of it. He winked suggestively at me. Ever since I've changed and become more successful, with my family having money now, Doraemon's felt like he hasn't been as helpful. He keeps thinking I'm still missing something in my life. Seeing me always training my psychic abilities alone at home, he suddenly realized the issue. I still don't have many friends, and I've never had a girlfriend. As for Shizuka, Doraemon's noticed there hasn't been much progress between us. Even after all this time, he wants to make absolutely sure I end up happy, since he doesn't know if the future might change. What Doraemon doesn't realize is that Shizuka and I have actually made some drastic change in our relationship lately. Doraemon used to just want me to change enough to be like a normal person, get married, have kids, establish a career, live happily ever after. But now his new goal is to make me truly exceptional, rich, surrounded by women, reaching the pinnacle of success. That's what he sees as his mission as a robotic caretaker. Now I see, I said, suddenly remembering something from the original story. I'm pretty sure Nobita met a beautiful girl because of the Urashima candy in that version. Thinking about that, I started getting excited. But don't get the wrong idea. I just want to make friends with a nice girl, that's all. Seeing my interest, Doraemon opened the box to reveal the pale blue candies inside. I popped one in my mouth. Is that all I need to do? I asked. Yep, now you can go out and have some fun, Doraemon smiled. Be careful and stay safe. With that, I eagerly headed out the door, ready for adventure. Number support with power stones. Number every 400 power stones equals bonus. Chapter 34. Chapter 34, Himeko Tatsumiya. I stepped out of my house, not entirely sure if I'd encounter the girl from the original story, but with my newfound luck from the future diary and the Lie 800, I had a feeling things might play out similarly. As I walked, I suddenly felt something under my foot. I picked it up and realized it was a red transit card with the name Himeko Tatsumiya written on it. Looks like I'd found an item belonging to the girl from the story, but without an address. How was I supposed to find her? I couldn't help but chuckle at the irony. I continued walking through several streets, waiting for the next event to unfold. As I turned a corner, I spotted an elegantly dressed older woman carrying a purple package. She looked wealthy and distinguished. Suddenly, the woman tripped on a pebble just a few meters away from me. As she fell forward, her main concern seemed to be the package flying from her hands. It was too far for me to reach normally, but I had an idea. Using my psychic powers, I subtly controlled the package's trajectory while simultaneously teleporting to catch it to anyone watching. It would appear as if I had miraculously appeared to save the day. The woman, who had feared for the package's contents, was amazed to see a young boy suddenly materialize and catch it. "Thank you so much," she said gratefully. "This is a 1,000-year-old Uruk vase worth millions." She carefully unwrapped the purple cloth, showing me the exquisite antique. "Please, you must come back to my home so I can properly thank you," she insisted, taking my hand and leading me along. When we arrived at her house, I was shocked to discover it was the Tatsumiya residence, Himeko's home. The power of the Urashima Kandi never ceased to amaze me. The Tatsumiya mansion was even grander than Sunio's, with pavilions, rockeries, and ponds, every luxurious amenity imaginable. The woman ushered me into a lavish sitting room where servants brought out an array of delectable dishes. As I gazed at the sumptuous feast, I couldn't help but reflect on my own newfound wealth. Despite having so much money now, my frugal nature, and that of my mom and Doraemon, had kept me from truly indulging. But seeing all this luxury made me realize, why shouldn't I enjoy my fortune a little? I grinned to myself, imagining buying a castle and having Doraemon get me some robot maids. It was time to adjust my mindset and start living it up a bit. Just then, the woman returned with a beautiful young girl in tow. "This is my daughter, Himeko," she announced. "Himeko, come meet our guest." "Wow, is this the one who saved the vase?" Himeko asked playfully. I took a moment to admire the pretty girl before me. She had chin-length hair, a yellow round neck top, and a green dress. She radiated cheerful energy. So this was Himeko Tatsumiya. She really was quite lovely, I thought to myself. I couldn't believe what was happening here. I was in this opulent mansion, being lavishly thanked by the beautiful Himeko for something as simple as finding a lost vase. It all seemed so over the top. As I enjoyed the delicious feast laid out before me, Himeko put on an impromptu ballet performance. My eyes wandered over her lithe form in the tight white leotard as she gracefully twirled and leapt. The thin fabric clung to every curve, leaving little to the imagination. I felt a stirring of desire as I watched her long, toned legs encased in sheer white tights. When she finished dancing, Himeko rushed over to me, breathless and flushed. "How was that, Nobita? Did you like it?" she asked eagerly, her eyes locked on mine. That's when suspicion crept in. How did she know my name? As I questioned her, Himeko's composure cracked. Soon the truth came spilling out. Her family was on the verge of bankruptcy and desperately seeking my help. As a wealthy young author, I was stunned. Part of me wanted to be angry at the deception, but as I looked at Himeko's tear-filled eyes and trembling form, other thoughts took over. Here was this beautiful girl, offering herself to me to save her family. How could I refuse? "All right, I'll help your family," I said magnanimously, my eyes roaming over Himeko's lithe form as she stood before me, still flushed and glistening with sweat from her dance performance. In exchange for a 30% stake in the company. Her eyes widened in shock and gratitude, her chest heaving slightly as she processed my words, and I added with a sly grin, reaching out to grasp her slender waist and pull her close. The heat of her body radiated through the thin fabric of her leotard, igniting a fire deep within me. "I want you." Chapter 35, Chapter 35, Eating Himeko Tatsumiya, R18. Himeko's face flushed an even deeper crimson, her porcelain skin now a delightful shade of pink that extended down her graceful neck and disappeared beneath her costume. "But I'm all sweaty from dancing," she stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. "Perfect," I purred, leaning in close enough to inhale her intoxicating scent, a heady mixture of jasmine perfume and the musky aroma of exertion. "I want you just like this." As I kissed her deeply, my hands roamed over her body, savoring the feel of soft skin through delicate lace. My fingers traced the curve of her spine, feeling each vertebra through the sheer material before coming to rest on the swell of her perfectly rounded buttocks. Himeko melted against me with a breathy moan, her small, perky breasts pressing against my chest as she surrendered to the kiss. I led her to the wall, lifting one long, toned leg high as I positioned myself between her thighs. The flexibility from years of ballet training was evident as she effortlessly maintained the position, her leg extending almost vertically. Himeko gripped the wall for support. Trembling with nervous anticipation, I could feel the heat emanating from her core, even through the layers of fabric that still separated us. As I prepared to claim her innocence, I reveled in the moment: the delicate curve of her neck, the gentle swell of her breasts, the taut plane of her stomach. Every inch of her was a work of art, and I was about to make her mine in every way. With a swift motion, I hiked up her leotard, exposing her most intimate area to my hungry gaze. The thin strip of lace that had covered her was soaked through, evidence of her arousal. Despite her nervous demeanor, I took a moment to admire the sight before me: her glistening folds, pink and perfect, framed by a neatly trimmed patch of dark hair. I gripped Himeko's slender leg tightly, using it as leverage as I positioned myself at her entrance. The head of my throbbing member brushes against her sensitive flesh, eliciting a gasp from her parted lips. With a single, powerful thrust, I bury myself to the hilt inside her tight, virgin passage. The feeling of breaking through her barrier sends a jolt of excitement through me, a primal satisfaction at being the first to claim this territory. Ah! It hurts, Nobita! Himeko cries out, her face pale with pain as tears stream down her cheeks. Her inner walls clench around me, almost painfully tight as her body struggles to accommodate my size. I don't let up, pushing her leg higher to penetrate even deeper. The new angle allows me to hit spots deep within her that have never been touched before. Don't be afraid, Himeko, we're one now, I whisper, licking away her tears and kissing her trembling lips. The salt of her tears mingles with the sweetness of her mouth, creating an intoxicating flavor that only fuels my desire. The tight grip of her inner walls around me is indescribable. It's as if her body was made for me, fitting me like a glove tailored to my exact specifications. I look down to see crimson staining the connection between us, dripping onto her white stockings like plum blossoms on snow. The sight of her virginal blood marking our union only inflames my passion further, a visual representation of the claim I've staked on her body and soul. I begin to move, sliding in and out as Himeko whimpers beneath me. Each thrust sends shockwaves of pleasure through my body, the friction of our joining creating a delicious heat that threatens to consume us both. Nobita, please, it's too much. But her cries only spur me on, driving me to push her further, to see just how much pleasure her body can withstand. The lewd sounds of our coupling fill the room, wet slapping noises mixed with Himeko's gasps and moans. The scent of sex hangs heavy in the air, a heady mixture of sweat, arousal, and the metallic tang of blood. I can tell she's getting close as her body flushes pink, a rosy hue spreading across her chest and up her neck to stain her cheeks. My hands roam her body as I continue to thrust, kneading her small, perky breasts and teasing her hardened nipples through the thin fabric of her leotard. I trail kisses along her jaw and down her neck, nipping and sucking at the sensitive skin to leave marks that will serve as a reminder of this moment long after we're done. Nobita, I mime. Himeko's body suddenly tenses and shudders, her back arching as she approaches her peak. Her inner walls clench rhythmically around me, trying to draw me deeper inside her. Me too, Himeko, I'm going to fill you up, I growl, my movements becoming frantic as I chase my own release. The thought of emptying myself inside her, of potentially planting my seed in her fertile womb, drives me to new heights of passion. Yes. Give me your baby, Nobita, she cries out in ecstasy, her body convulsing with the force of her orgasm. Her words send a jolt of electricity down my spine, the taboo nature of the act only adding to the intensity of the moment. With a final thrust, I explode inside her, flooding her womb with my essence. The feeling of my hot seed painting her inner walls triggers another climax for Himeko, her inner muscles milking me dry as if desperate to wring every last drop from me. Wave after wave of pleasure washes over us both as we ride out our shared orgasm, our bodies locked together in the most intimate of embraces. As we catch our breath, I admire the erotic tableau we've created, pure white and vivid red mixing together where we're still joined as one. Himeko's leg trembles in my grasp, her flexibility pushed to its limits by our passionate encounter. Her hair, once neatly styled for her performance, is now a wild tangle framing her flushed face. Her lips are swollen from our kisses, and a constellation of love bites adorns her neck and collarbone. I slowly lower her leg, allowing her to stand on shaky feet as I withdraw from her body. A mixture of our combined fluids and her virginal blood trickles down her inner thighs, staining her pristine white stockings. The sight is both erotic and possessive, a visual marker of the claim I've staked on her body and her future. You're mine now, Heimko, I murmur, cupping her face in my hands and pressing a gentle kiss to her forehead. In every way that matters, she nods, her eyes glazed with a mixture of pleasure and adoration. Yes, Nobita, I'm yours, always. As I hold her trembling form close, I can't help but smile at the thought of what the future holds. The room falls silent save for our heavy breathing, the air thick with the scent of our lovemaking. As we slowly begin to clean ourselves up and put our clothes back in order, I can't help but feel a sense of anticipation building within me. Chapter 36, Chapter 36, The New Record of Nobita's Space Blazer, the movie begin. After spending a wonderful night with Heimko at the Tatsumiya Palace, I followed through on my promise to invest in the Tatsumiya family business. Heimko showered me with gratitude, which felt amazing just as I thought my happy days were getting back on track. In the vast expanse of space, an intense chase was unfolding. A massive black warship, resembling a Kirov airship, relentlessly pursued a small white spacecraft, firing purple energy beams from its cannons. The white ship desperately dodged and weaved to avoid being hit. Inside the white ship, a pink rabbit bounced around frantically. They won't give up. What should we do, Rapuru? It cried. Chami, can you please be quiet for a minute? Snapped a green-haired boy in yellow, struggling to pilot the ship. Eek! Danger, danger! Run away, run away! The rabbit leapt onto the boy's face. I know already. The boy peeled the rabbit off in frustration. Use the space-time jump to escape. Hurry, hurry! The rabbit kept chattering as it hopped to the control panel and flipped open a cover to reveal a red button. We can't use that yet. The boy tried to stop it, but the rabbit had already smashed the button with its foot. A swirling, rainbow-colored portal opened up ahead of the ship. As they plunged into it, the ship vanished from sight. Back on the warship, the pursuers were baffled. Are they insane? Using a space-time jump at high speed will only get them killed faster. Oh well, saves us the trouble of dealing with them. Meanwhile, the violent shaking inside the white ship knocked the boy unconscious. The rabbit hopped around in a panic. Oh no! This is no time for a nap, Rapuru. Wake up! Groaning, the boy came to and looked out the window in shock. Where are we? Colorful mist swirled all around them. What do we do? We're stuck in some weird space, wailed the rabbit. This is why I said it wasn't time yet. It's all your fault for pushing that button, the boy scolded. But I just wanted to escape quickly, the rabbit pouted. Ugh, you can't use a space-time jump while moving at high speed, the boy sighed. Let's try to repair the ship. Everyone's waiting for us to come back. He headed towards the cargo hold, but when he opened the door, an unfamiliar scene greeted him. What's going on? Where is this? The rabbit asked in confusion. That's strange. This should be the cargo hold. The boy frowned suddenly. A gust of foul air rushed out. Ugh, what a horrible smell. They both coughed. What's happening, Rapuru? How should I know? I'm as lost as you are. Does this mean we can't go back? I found myself jolting awake from yet another vivid dream of this same scene. How strange. Why do I keep having this dream? Is it because I've been training my psychic powers too hard? Or maybe beating up those bullies earlier tired me out more than I realized. Even though it didn't take much effort earlier that day. Jian and Sunio had come by asking me to play baseball. It had been a while, so I agreed. But when we got to the field, another team was already there. Jian and Sunio started arguing with them. Somehow Sunio managed to insult them, saying they must be too weak to play on a real field if they had to take over a kid's lot. That set them off. Soon they were chasing Jian, Sunio, and the rest of our friends, beating them up. I even saw Dekisuji there. Not sure how they convinced the bookworm to come along, but he was running for his life just like the others. I couldn't help but shake my head. Some rival you are, Dekisuji, getting your butt kicked alongside Jian and Sunio? Where's that cool composure from the original story? As the mob chased my friends towards me, I knew I had to step in. I activated my psychic powers, using telekinesis to slow them all down with an invisible force. My range has grown to over 10 meters now, and I can exert about 60 kilograms of pressure, half the weight of an adult while they were restrained. I gave those bullies a serious beating. Jian and Sunio were shocked speechless, but during the fight, that strange dream scene kept flashing through my mind, and now that I'm home, the visions are even more intense. It seems a new movie plot is unfolding. Looks like I'll be diving into another adventure soon. I wonder if there will be any cute girls this time. The more I train my powers, the more restless and hungry I feel. My body is craving release in ways that go beyond mere physical exertion. Perhaps this next quest will provide some much needed outlets for all this pent-up energy. Chapter 37. Chapter 37, Chammy the Rabbit. I was tossing and turning in bed, my mind racing with all sorts of thoughts I couldn't quite grasp as I finally drifted off into a deep sleep. Little did I know what was happening beneath the tatami mats. Inside the spaceship, a pink rabbit was complaining loudly. Ugh, I'm so hungry. Why didn't we bring any food with us? We thought we'd be back by last night, the boy in yellow replied with a sigh. I can't take it anymore. The pink rabbit hopped towards the cargo bay door. Where are you going? The boy called out urgently. Ropuru, I'm going to explore outside. Don't try to stop me. You can't, Chammy. The air out there is toxic, you won't be able to breathe. But the pink rabbit ignored him, leaping towards the door. Don't worry, I may be small but I'm tough. With that, Chammy threw herself against the cargo bay door repeatedly. The impacts sent vibrations through the floor above. I jolted awake, feeling the tatami shaking beneath me. An earthquake? We get them often, but this felt different. Suddenly another tremor lifted me right off the floor. As I came down, I caught a glimpse of something pink darting out from under the tatami. Heart pounding, I shook. Doraemon, awake Doraemon! I just saw something pink run out from under the floor. The robot cat rubbed his eyes sleepily. What? It's not a mouse, is it? No, it was definitely pink, I assured him. We both fell silent as we heard noises coming from downstairs. Quietly, we crept out of my room and down the hallway. As we reached the kitchen, we saw the refrigerator door standing open, and there, illuminated by the fridge light, was a small pink creature rummaging through the food. Wait a second, isn't that the pink rabbit from my dreams? How is this possible? Doraemon and I slowly approached the rabbit from behind. Suddenly it turned, saw us, and let out a startled yelp. We all jumped in surprise. The rabbit leapt up, using Doraemon's round face as a springboard to reach the kitchen pipes. In a flash, it had squeezed through and escaped outside after it. Doraemon cried, pulling two take copter from his pocket. He tossed one to me and we flew out the window in hot pursuit. Stop, thief! Doraemon shouted as we chased the nimble pink creature across rooftops and through alleyways. Suddenly the rabbit took flight. Doraemon and I gaped in shock. Since when could rabbits fly? That little guy sure is agile, Doraemon panted as we struggled to keep up. Without warning, the rabbit began to falter. It dropped onto a nearby roof, gasping for air. Oh no, I can't. The air is so thick and my body feels so heavy, it wheezed. I landed beside the exhausted creature. Are you okay, little rabbit? It looked up at me in fear. Oh no, I'm going to be eaten by primitive aliens from the edge of the universe. Hey now, calling us primitive is a bit rude, Doraemon huffed as he touched down. The rabbit dramatically flopped onto its back. Fine then, roast me or stew me, do whatever you want. I ignored its theatrics, suddenly remembering something important. I have a question for you. Don't bother, I taste terrible, it groaned. That's not what I meant, I said, exasperated. Did you come here in a spaceship? The rabbit's eyes widened. You know Ropuru? As Doraemon looked on in confusion, I explained about the strange visions I'd been having. The rabbit, Chammy, told us how she had escaped from the ship under my tatami mats. Under the tatami? Doraemon exclaimed. But that's impossible. Tatami mat spaceships. Suddenly it all clicked. This was just like the plot of that Doraemon movie, the new record of Nobita's Space Blazer. But how could scenes from a movie be coming to life? And how did I know about them before they happened? My head was spinning as I tried to make sense of it all. One thing was clear though, this little pink rabbit was going to lead us on quite an adventure. Just like that, after listening to Chammy, Doraemon and I returned to my room together. When I pulled away the blanket and pillow on top of the tatami mat, so it's under the tatami. It's connected to the spaceship's storage room, Doraemon said in surprise as I lifted the tatami board. A steel tunnel was revealed beneath. That's right, due to some coincidence, time and space shifted, Doraemon mused afterwards, it became connected to under the tatami, but why did it appear in my mind? I couldn't help but ask. I think it's because of the distortion. Rapuru must have been thinking about you so intensely, his feelings transcended time and space, and reached you through your dreams. Doraemon thought for a moment, then added, all right, you too, I'm heading back. Chami said, jumping down through the tatami opening. Doraemon and I looked at the dark, deep steel tunnel and hesitated. How about we go too? Since I already knew the story, I looked at Doraemon for confirmation. All right. Doraemon agreed. After a moment's thought, both of us mimicked Chami and jumped down. I thought we'd be falling down, but when we landed, I realized we ended up on a wall instead. Doraemon even tumbled head over heels. Careful, the direction of gravity here is different, Chami, who arrived first, said from the side. You could have said that earlier. Doraemon complained, looking aggrieved. Suddenly, Doraemon and I took a light breath, then paused, and took a deep breath again. The air here is so fresh. I couldn't help but exclaim, it really is. So comfortable. Doraemon said, enjoying himself. Come with me, please. Seeing that we'd started adapting to the environment, Chami bounced off ahead, beckoning us while walking. Doraemon and I both marveled at the light feeling in our bodies inside the spaceship, following Chami forward. Suddenly, Chami, who was walking ahead, noticed something. Rapuru, what's wrong? Chami anxiously shook the yellow-clothed boy lying on the floor. Chami shook him awake, but as soon as the boy saw us, he jumped in fright. Who are you? Are you the pirates who've been chasing us? He was on his guard. Don't worry, we're not bad people, I said helplessly. Wait, you've misunderstood, Rapuru. Chami quickly jumped in to explain, but before she finished, the yellow-clothed boy fainted again. Later, we found out he'd just passed out from hunger, so we all fed him, chatting as he ate. During the conversation, I learned his name was Rapuru. Earth? Galaxy? I've never heard of those. And we've never heard of Koya Koya planet, where you live. While Rapuru and the others ate ravenously, we introduced ourselves and exchanged information. This is incredible. Earth and Koya Koya planet are so far apart, yet somehow they've become connected. Doraemon couldn't help but marvel. Rapuru, do you know what happened? Doraemon continued. I only know the ship failed during a hyperspace jump, Rapuru replied, worried we wouldn't understand. Rapuru explained, planets are often tens of thousands of light years apart. Even at the speed of light, it would take tens of thousands of years to travel, so we cross space by jumping hyperspace jumps. Doraemon and I nodded to show we understood. Then why don't you just use the hyperspace jump to go home? Doraemon blurted out, then realized how pointless that sounded. If they could go back, they would have done so already. The hyperspace jump device must be broken. Rapuru smiled wryly and opened the hatch connecting to my room. This used to be the ship's engine room, but when I open the door now, it's linked to your bedroom, Nobita. All the repair tools are in the storage room. Without them, we can't fix the ship. I thought for a moment only the hatch's connection had changed. The original storage room should still exist, so I called to Doraemon. Doraemon, the pass loop. All right. Doraemon pulled out a brass-colored loop. He pressed it against the storage room wall, and instantly, we could see the storage room through the loop. Doraemon tried reaching in with his hand. It went through. Wow, Earth gadgets really are magical. Rapuru also tried sticking his hand through. Then we all climbed into the storage room together. Rapuru enthusiastically introduced the contents of the storage room to us: plant seeds and other cargo. Talking about the cargo, Rapuru gritted his teeth. We used to have regular trade ships between planets, but pirates attacked and stole everything. We had no choice but to pilot our own ship and buy things ourselves. Don't you have anyone managing law and order? I couldn't help but ask. No way, the universe is too big. The police can't monitor every corner, Rapuru said. Helpless as we spoke, Rapuru walked over to a large mechanical device. I think the dimensional vibration core's axle is broken, he said worriedly, examining the damaged device. I thought this was just a storage room, but it turned out the hyperspace jump device was right behind it. No wonder Rapuru and the others had no solutions before. If the mechanism broke and the space beyond the door disappeared, it was even more hopeless than a locked door. Ropuru inspected it, picking up some tools to try to fix it. No good, it's impossible to repair, Ropuru said sadly. I thought for a moment, then jokingly said, Doraemon, let me ask you, before it broke, it was working, right? Do you really need to ask such an obvious question? Doraemon gave me a look as if I were an idiot. Did you forget the time cloth? I grinned. I can't believe I almost forgot. Doraemon smiled awkwardly and took out the time cloth. He spread the cloth over the hyperspace jump device. As the clock on the time cloth spun, the device began to change. Lights on its panels started flickering on. Suddenly, Chami called from outside, Ropuru. Come here. Come look. Ropuru, Doraemon and I thought something had happened and rushed back to the cockpit. As soon as we entered, we saw that the foggy haze outside the spaceship window was gone. Instead, we were flying through the starry expanse of space, a sky full of stars. It's fixed. Ropuru cheered, raising his fist in delight. I want to invite you both to visit Koya Koya planet, Nobita, Doraemon, Ropuru said earnestly. Hearing those words, I finally relaxed. All my efforts just now had been to win Ropuru's trust. After all, here in space, especially with a boy who can pilot a ship anywhere, you can't expect him to trust strangers easily, especially after being attacked by pirates. Anyone that naive would have died in space long ago. If we couldn't earn his trust, we'd never have the chance to go to Koya Koya planet. I'd noticed all along how warily Ropuru watched Doraemon and me. That's why I not only helped him, but also demonstrated our advanced technology to show that even though we have powerful gadgets, we're choosing to help now. Ropuru finally trusted us. Look, that's Koya Koya planet. As the ship flew, Chami jumped up in excitement. Koya Koya planet. Here I come. My eyes must have looked different in that moment, even I wasn't sure what I was thinking. Chapter 38, Chapter 38, heading to Ropuru's home. When Ropuru's spaceship arrived at Koya Koya planet, I didn't go home like in the original story. Doraemon tried it out and found that even after the spaceship had traveled, the warehouse door still led straight to my room back on Earth. So, we were happy to agree to stay. By following Ropuru home, I didn't have to deal with the flood disaster. Like in the original timeline, if that had happened again, it would have been a real mess for me. The spaceship slipped through Koya Koya's atmosphere, and the planet's surface gradually came into view. It wasn't the paradise I'd imagined. No birdsong or fragrant flowers. Instead, the land was scarred with deep gullies, bleak and barren as far as the eye could see. How could there be such fresh air in a place like this, with such a harsh climate? I was genuinely stumped. Ropuru must have noticed my confusion. He explained, every year, Koya Koya's winters are hit by fierce snowstorms, and then, just before spring, massive floods. To survive, the animals and plants burrow underground to hide from the harsh weather, so the surface looks deserted right now. Our family, and everyone else here, lowers their homes underground every winter and early spring to avoid the storms and floods. We stay below until the waters recede, Ropuru continued. But when the floods are over, they leave behind nutrients that make the plants grow even more lush. Koya Koya comes back to life, again and again. That's amazing. Nature has such strange rules. Doraemon and I exclaimed in awe. We chatted as Ropuru piloted the ship to a desolate plain. We're here, Nobita. Come take a look. Ropuru invited with a big smile. The hatch opened, and Doraemon and I looked out at the barren landscape. We followed Ropuru out onto the ground. I tapped my foot on the dirt. It didn't seem all that different from the sand and gravel back home on Earth. Suddenly, wow, my body feels so light. Doraemon shouted, delighted. He gave a little hop and soared way up, his stubby legs kicking in the air. Then, without warning, Doraemon lifted a huge boulder like it was nothing. Nobita, it's the gravity. It's so much lighter here than on Earth. Doraemon grinned. I felt a little proud, seeing how effortlessly we handled things here. Ropuru was clearly amazed, and I could tell he was firming up some idea in his mind. Nobita, Doraemon. Ropuru called us. Overcoming. Doraemon and I gave up our goofing around and hurried to catch up. We arrived at a patch of plain that looked completely ordinary. Ropuru spoke into his communicator. No idea what he said. Suddenly, the quiet ground trembled and roared. A giant metallic bud burst upwards, breaking through the earth. Once the steel bud had fully risen, its petals opened to reveal a beautiful house inside. Wow! Doraemon gasped. The door to the house swung open, and out walked a young girl and a beautiful woman. The girl stretched and yawned, winter felt so long. The air outside is so refreshing, right, Mom? Rapuru saw them and dashed over, shouting, I'm home, Mom. Clem. They were just as excited. Rapuru, you're back. Big brother. You're back. Chammy, I'm home too. Chammy hopped over, bouncing with excitement. We didn't forget you, Chammy. Everyone laughed together. Rapuru suddenly remembered us. Oh, right. Clem, Mom, let me introduce you. This is Nobita and Doraemon. They saved me and Chammy from danger. He turned to us. Nobita, Doraemon, this is my mom and my little sister, Clem. Doraemon and I smiled politely. Auntie, Clem, it's great to meet you. We're Rapuru's good friends. I took a closer look at the girl and the woman in front of me. The girl, Clem, wore a red and white dress, full of youthful energy like Rapuru. Her hair was short and green. Her mother wore a long, grayish-purple dress with pants and a pink shawl draped over her shoulders. Still a little cold after Koya Koya's long winter. She, too, had that green hair, but hers was long, flowing all the way to her waist. There was a gentle, homely grace about her. She was the picture of a caring mother. Wow! You're the ones Big Brother mentioned in his messages, the ones from Earth? Clem asked, eyes wide. Yep. Just flip over a tatami mat and we're there, I said with a grin. Thank you so much for saving Rapuru and Chammy in that dangerous situation, Clem's mom said, bowing deeply. Oh, it was nothing. Doraemon and I replied modestly. All right, let's all go inside and chat, Rapuru said, leading us in. Nobita, Doraemon, welcome to my home. Rapuru said warmly. We all laughed and chatted as we went inside. Chapter 39. Chapter 39. The planetary adventure begins. After entering Rapuru's house, we talked and laughed, even staying for dinner. Doraemon and I assumed it would be nighttime back on Earth too, but it turned out, Koya Koya's time flowed differently. A whole day here was only an hour on Earth, so Doraemon and I decided we'd return to Koya Koya the next day. The next morning, Doraemon and I slipped through the spaceship's tatami mat passage and arrived on Koya Koya again. Rapuru. Doraemon and I called, spotting him and Chammy by the ship. Nobita, Doraemon, long time no see. Rapuru said, all smiles for him. Several days had passed because of the time difference between Earth and Koya Koya. Nobita, just in time. I'll take you sightseeing on Koya Koya. Rapuru was about to start up his ship. Doraemon, take copter. I grinned, stopping Rapuru. Doraemon cheerfully pulled 3 take copter out of his pocket. Rapuru stared at the yellow gadget, looking confused. Rapuru, here's how you use a take copter, I said, placing one on my head and pressing the button. Instantly, I lifted into the air, the anti-gravity device whirring above me. Doraemon and I flew up, soaring through the sky. So this is how you fly on Earth with amazing gadgets like these. Rapuru's eyes sparkled with excitement as he watched us. He tried it himself, sticking the take copter on his head and pressing the button. Whoa! This is incredible! Rapuru exclaimed as he floated up from the sky. I scanned the land below. Streams had started to appear, but the place was still barren. Why is it still so desolate here? Doraemon asked. It's still better than your Earth, with its polluted air, Chammy muttered defensively. Rapuru laughed. That's because winter just ended in a few days. Spring will be here. But Rapuru, your house already came back up. Why aren't there more people around? Where are all the houses? Doraemon asked, puzzled. We've only lived on this planet for 7 years. Rapuru explained. Oh. So you're still pioneers? Doraemon said, understanding. Chammy piped up, Rapuru's dad was the one who found this planet. So where's your dad? I blurted out. He died a long time ago, Rapuru answered, trying to sound calm, but his hand curled into a fist. Sorry, I said, feeling awkward, but for some reason, I suddenly thought of Rapuru and Clem's gentle, capable mother. It's okay, Rapuru said, trying to brush it off. He added, there are lots of planets like this being developed within 1,000 light years. There are many, but this one is especially rich in resources. As we flew, the barren wasteland below slowly gave way. We saw patches of grass, then fields, then a wide prairie in the distance. A fenced-in pasture appeared, with herds of cattle. Grazing it's a ranch. Doraemon exclaimed. Ropuru smiled fondly. This is Sister Morina's ranch. Who's she? I asked. We grew up like siblings, Ropuru said, grinning. We landed in front of a house at the heart of the ranch. Ropuru jumped out and called, Morina? Are you home? Strange, she's not here, he muttered. I peeked in through the window. It was a mess inside, packed like a storage shed. In the past, Ropuru's family always asked Morina to move in with them, but... Chami started. Chami, don't say any more, Ropuru suddenly interrupted, glancing at the family photo inside. I kind of got it just then, a cold, sharp voice called out, who's there? Ropuru ran towards the voice. Happy, it's me, Sister Morina. At the front door, a woman in a brown cloak came in, carrying a calf in her arms. I told you not to come here anymore, Morina said coldly. Sorry. Ropuru apologized. Chami tried to help. It's because Morina cut her off. Noticing Doraemon and me. Who are these people? Why are they here? Ropuru hurried to explain. They're Doraemon and Nobita, from Earth, my friends. They saved me last time. Morina didn't seem interested, just walked past us, her eyes cool and distant. She set the calf down on the grass. You already told me last time you went shopping I'm a settler too, so I want to do my part. Ropuru apologized again. Morina watched the calf return to the herd, silent for a moment. Suddenly, another calf rushed over, accidentally pulling off Morina's cloak. Sunlight revealed her stunning features, delicate face, natural red hair burning like fire, tied back with a white scarf. She wore a skin-tight, pink koya traditional outfit, like a one-piece dive suit with a round collar. Her body was curvy and full, with long slender legs, an absolute bombshell. Her whole presence was regal and icy, but that fiery red hair made her seem both cold and hot, a dangerous combination. Morina stood, her tone even colder, relying on kids for help. Adults really are useless, she added. You shouldn't have come. Get out of here before something happens. She picked up a pitchfork, ready to feed the cattle. Just then, the sky darkened as something blotted out the sun. Chapter 40, The planetary adventure continues. Hearing the disturbance outside, Morina tensed up, gripping the pitchfork tightly. They're here, just like I expected. Quick, find somewhere to hide. What are you waiting for? Morina barked at us. Ropuru, what's going on? Doraemon asked urgently. I'll explain later, just follow me. Deciding to lay low, I followed Ropuru behind a rock near the house. Once we were hidden, Ropuru whispered, it's the security craft from Galtite Mining. Galtite Mining. Doraemon repeated. He didn't get to ask more. A massive black airship hovered over the ranch, its engines blowing hay everywhere. The ship's doors opened. Two men, one fat, one thin, stepped out, dressed in black uniforms with the Galtite Mining logo on their chests. Hey, Miss Morina, they shouted. What do you want? Morina snapped. We heard strangers were flying around here, they said, eyeing her. Really? I haven't heard anything about that, Morina replied coolly. Annoyed by her attitude, they started yelling, listen up. This planet doesn't allow new immigrants. If you don't follow the rules, you'll be sorry. Typical muscle-headed bullies. This has nothing to do with me. Now get lost. You're scaring my animals, Morina shot back. Humph, weird woman, the two muttered, slamming the ship door and taking off. I turned to Ropuru. You said you've only been here 7 years. Why did they ban new settlers so fast? Those guys are tyrants. They just made up laws for themselves, Ropuru said, scowling. What's going on here? Doraemon asked. Unfortunately, this planet is rich in Gartite ore, Ropuru explained. Garutite ore? Doraemon echoed, puzzled. Ropuru glanced at Chami. Chami, can you check for any nearby? No problem. Chami zipped to a patch of ground, her rabbit ears twisting together like a drill. She spun and burrowed underground. A bright green light flashed up from the hole, and Chami popped out, holding 2 green crystals. Here you go, she said, handing them to Ropuru. They're beautiful. Doraemon gasped, and I stepped up to take a closer look. Ropuru demonstrated, rubbing the 2 stones together. A pulse of green light flared out between them. Wow! Doraemon said, awestruck. Even though I knew the story, seeing it in person was amazing. Ropuru floated into the air, lifted by the sparkling green energy. He explained, when you rub them together, they generate anti-gravity energy. The effect depends on the size and angle. This is the power source for our whole civilization. Now I understood why Galtite mining was so desperate to control Koya Koya. This was like the oil wars back on Earth. Whoever controlled the energy controlled everything. Just imagine an entire planet's worth of energy, enough to power a civilization for generations. But the settlers on Koya Koya were just ordinary people. Against such power, they barely stood a chance. Honestly, the only reason this wasn't a bloodbath was that this was a story for kids. If it were real, wars would have already bathed the planet in blood for this kind of resource. I'll admit, for a moment the idea tempted me. What if I brought this energy back to Earth? I could be a new Columbus, ushering in a technological revolution. But really, with Doraemon's gadgets, what couldn't I do for Earth already? And why should I care about saving humanity? Would I become a god or something? That's not nearly as tempting as winning the love of a few cute girls. I've saved the world enough times already, and no one ever remembers it. Besides, with the copyright money from my manga, I'm rich. I don't need more fame or fortune. Honestly, I've lived a life of self-sacrifice in my previous life. This time, I just want to be selfish, occasionally save the world, chase after girls, maybe build a harem. If I'm really being honest, I'm just a selfish guy saving the world and still thinking I'm selfish? That's me, Nobita. Sometimes it makes me want to cry. But enough of that. Back to reality. Doraemon and I played around with the Gyarutite ore, testing its power and energy. Rapuru saw that neither of us tried to take any ore or even suggested bringing it back to Earth. He looked visibly relieved. He understood what this kind of resource meant for any civilization. It was a big gamble, letting us see it. After all, with Doraemon's technology, Earth's civilization was no joke. If Earth got involved in Koya Koya's affairs, things could get even messy, or maybe keep Galtite mining in check. Who knew? But seeing how Doraemon and I acted, Rapuru realized he didn't need his backup plan. We weren't greedy, or spies for Earth's civilization. He felt a little guilty, thinking about using our help to fight Galtite mining. But for Koya Koya's sake, he didn't have a choice. He'd find a way to make it up to us someday. That's what Rapuru was thinking. Chapter 41. Chapter 41. The planetary adventure continues. Part 2. Rapuru adjusted his mindset, then turned to me and said, "Those people, they're doing everything they can to drive us away. Their goal is to monopolize the Gyarutite ore. They're so awful," I said, echoing his anger, even though I didn't really know what else to say. I mean, I know what these energy companies are like. After everyone had played enough, we all went back to Rapuru's house. After all, time on Earth and on Koya Koya planet passes at different rates. 2 hours there is a whole day here. So Doraemon and I decided we'd just stay and have fun for a few more days. Rapuru was more than happy to have us that night. After dinner together at Rapuru's house, we all stood at the window, admiring the night view of Koya Koya. The most amazing thing was that Koya Koya had 2 moons, one blue, one red. I watched Clem, cute as ever, leaning on the windowsill. She wore her usual red and white dress, but it didn't hide her beautiful figure at all. Her emerald green hair made her look even more youthful. Honestly, in my previous life, I'd seen lots of people dye their hair. I always thought those weird colors looked pretty ugly, but here, when I saw all these characters from the original anime with their strange hair colors, I realized, other hair colors can be really nice, especially when they're natural. It didn't turn me off at all. In fact, I really liked it. Maybe that's just a rule of the anime world. Nobody's ever ugly, unless they're really supposed to be. Clem was gazing up at the sky, her big, sparkling eyes reflecting the red moon. The red moonlight fell across her body, making her look almost otherworldly. Nobita and I, tonight's the red moon. Tomorrow the blue moon will rise. Clem explained to me with a cheerful smile, worried I might not know. This planet really is amazing. Doraemon sighed in awe. Can I bring my friends here to play? The question slipped out of my mouth. If they're your friends, of course they're welcome. Right, Clem? Rapuru thought for a second, then agreed. Yet, Nobita and I. Next time, you have to teach me some Earth games. Clem said playfully. Before I could say anything else, a beautiful woman came out from the living room. Rapuru, Clem, school starts tomorrow. Did you finish your winter homework? Clem's mom. Guess I'll just call her that from now on, asked Ah. I still have some left. Rapuru yelped. Everyone burst out laughing at his reaction. It's kind of funny, these kids saved a whole planet, and now they still have to do homework. I couldn't help but smile at that, but am I any different? I still have to go to school, and sometimes I end up saving the world too in the end. Maybe heroes aren't so different from ordinary people, maybe being a hero is just another way of being ordinary. The night passed by pleasantly, but I still went back to Earth to call Jian, Sunio, and Shizuka. I wanted to keep the story on track even though I was basically a native here now. What if the Galtite mining company really went nuts and brought out a planet-destroying cannon or something? One shot and the whole planet would be wiped out. Sure, the space police would show up afterward and talk about how justice always prevails or whatever, but if I'm dead by then, what's the point? So I called Jian, Sunio, and Shizuka. Jian and Sunio came as soon as they heard there was a huge open field to play baseball on, and plenty of time to play, but the first thing Shizuka said when she arrived was, "Nobita, why haven't you come to see me these last few days?" The way Shizuka looked at me so full of longing was a little embarrassing. I had to say a lot of sweet things to calm her down after what happened between us last time. She seemed even more charming than before. That pink top she wore made her chest look even bigger than last time, and her long legs under the red skirt drove me crazy. I kept thinking about how good it felt with her last time, but with Sunio, Jian, and Doraemon right there, I didn't dare do anything, so I just secretly held Shizuka's small, soft hand, making her blush. After a lot of coaxing, Shizuka finally let go of her frustration, only saying, "I hope you'll visit my house again." Then she added, puzzled, "I don't know why, but my mom keeps telling me to invite you over." She gave me a suspicious look. I awkwardly changed the subject, but just thinking about the feeling of her mom last time, I couldn't help but want to go again. As soon as Jian and Sunio arrived, Jian said his famous line, "My dearest friends." He tried to give me a big hug. Grossed out, I quickly pulled Sunio over. Sunio got caught in Jian's bear hug, his tongue sticking out. We all burst out laughing at the scene, but now everyone was here. Time to go to Koya Koya. I pulled up the tatami mat, revealing that iron tunnel. "All right, here we go. Please, down you go," I said with a grin. "Wow." Jian, Sunio, and Shizuka were all shocked. "How did you make this hole?" Jian demanded. "It's not even the first floor of Nobita's house." Sunio gasped. "Come on, let's go," Doraemon said, jumping in first. I followed the others, seeing us go, jumped in too. We passed through the spaceship's interior and finally saw the world outside. Sunio, Jian, and Shizuka were all amazed. Who would have thought there'd be a whole planet under my tatami mat? The air was so fresh. And outside, Koya Koya looked totally different. Just one day, and it was nothing like the desert it was before. Looks like winter's really over. "Hello, spring Rapuru, I brought friends," I called out when I saw Rapuru in the distance. "Nobita." Rapuru replied, seeing a bunch of kids with me. He looked relieved. "Hello, everyone." Clem greeted us with a smile. "Welcome to Koya Koya." Suddenly, Shizuka appeared beside me, grabbing my waist and giving it a hard twist. "Shizuka, what was that for?" I gasped, trying to hide the pain. "Why do girls all know how to do that TV drama waist twist thing?" Shizuka looked at me, full of suspicion. "Nobita, who's that girl?" I put on my most righteous face. "Shizuka, what are you trying to say?" "She's just a friend I made here. I've only been here a few days." "What are you even thinking? Is that so?" Shizuka stopped questioning me out loud, but I could tell by her look she still had her doubts. "New chapter is coming soon. Write a review."